malungil tutal beklat. Tial Lawrence Boy, alungot mo karinya Senate Committee ra Ways and Means, il Malaya, Aldaswila Boy, angidil concerns, il kiril Senate Bill 11-15, il ngiya Comprehensive Tax Reform Act. Tial Comprehensive Tax Reform Act, tablel introduce niya President Surang Alwibs Jr. or Sira March, nguldurakli il mera Senate. Senate ang ilut tial bill first reading, ilang agi mga pok malarokul opinions, udaswirar adal girel. Magi mla mura batokol state ilmo murura public hearing, may latiyakuk public hearing lo wanggela abalur orior, especially government orior. Tial lultas mula tial lultas mula amo kadamo migrate from GRT import tax ilang ilmora VAT. Hindi tial VAT bottom kadong aringil say Palau goods and service tax. Makami alam la omes record dragel public hearing al marayra TV Rabekal State Larngia atrang apartal mlaktiang al elal tutaw al guktim le privately ang sawal record ra public hearing di Senate tam le otowar ngi le tial ay ka rogul public hearing a public record magyoto ra TV elo ara YouTube ngidil ada sab elo meser ngi kuk alngar nga comment 13 sab ilu siya ba bilngiral mera Senate Ways and Means Committee agi mo o consider ngi maloob aloob ang sab el ask kal mo mitra a committee agirulia meeting lo manggel mang ngoyal already a Senate a film martial public hearing maul mang agi dilurungi la sepere la kam film ngi ndakal soma makukol film ngi lot tabdil editor ngi goramongod araigel timlakal madung malupel ngani comment el gukligel timlakal daswira while tangari lang mang yes ngi dil ada sap el may nding aigal public hearing amal is eng tobda ra TV tobra YouTube nakal soma makura comment ra akura mongo to wasing ramral mildung ra boy maul magim le kotwar ngil wasep ere la film ra different tal film also wala kapira public hearing anytime maging ulmasang au era do mo la ya senator sang artang nga vice chairman ra Ways and Means Committee at nga senator Soy Saal diral nga talo manggeda floor leader sa Senate at nga senator Cecilil Aldabel senator Mason ngire pangal whips senator Umi Sangbaw senator Andrew Tabalwal senator Taps Sungino agi malmere nga sule may governor marukul adra state government talmo sab iral mer el alsils mesra agi tiang nga impact ngin mora government local state government ang malgirad ang malungi labo ta kaw tangel girel masumang kuk nga all the swiw concern sa kami ang malgirel la kami tira mengs magi malmare nga sulin no sab irel mer el alsils au era to mo liak mo ngwa microphone ng masang vice chairman na committee Senator Soy Saal ngora di mo introducer tial bill maskida talgibal history tialuldasan mula and then Senator floor leader Senator Aldabel mo maskida igel core components igel gora mal iwasela changes al mura tax system algida akuk mamalari Senator Isal sulang
Chair Lady, malugit tutaw, waktu lang kleme, Governor, iwan sa ngatiang I believe Mr. Chin, Director Department of Finance rakaw, matigal aram, Chief of Staff rakaw, ada still bebiram klodu bakal orion ngatya. Jadi sa Gordeva Presidenta Piching ngatya, kung mamsulang lubakal skamate al ada Senet magidi Frido Spare tiang. Direct ko lang ngara COVID and direct dia ka funding. Thank you for making the place available for the committee. I guess actually spend 5 minutes for introduction. I'll do chair. That's not trouble. Important if I say what it is that we're talking about, where it came from, and why now. I guess those are 3 important questions that I should sort of make a reference to or give us a good eye view before each of us will go to the specifics of it. This is a 90-page bill. Again, it was not drafted by the OEK, House or Senate. It's drafted by the President's office back in 2007. President Mosau and his people, and then this is the twice revised version of it that we have now. So I guess the question is what it is. I guess you all know Mr. Gibbons is a businessman. He's here. He knows exactly what GRT is. He knows what kind of taxes does Palau government has or have for the past 41 years or since we became a member of the Trust Territory after World War II. There are 3 types of taxes that Palau has. One is gross receipt, which is one of the main components of the local revenue, source of revenue. We have import, GRT, import, and then we do have excise tax, tax on tobacco, soft drinks, beer, wine, imported of automobiles. But basically this bill proposed to cover 2 items, and they are the GRT and the import tax. Right now, the import tax is 3%. It's a tax of anything except medicine and food. All the rest of items imported to Palau are collected 3% tax at the port or at the airport. If it was a medicine or food, then it won't be taxed at imports. And then, so basically, what happened was aktalwa amit move at sugumangkal maluuban ngkar and dia ka 3% import tax ni imuras to sa surang o WCTC. Sugumak mo maarngi sa isto ang amlangu 4% tumulo yan. Misel po para aktal ural il diakal madiakal ngkar already ngaria 4% arsiklal, of course ngaria markup rastoa, ngaria whatever. Sigum sila si siklal nga belungwa aglos dola bilyo malubang ayaw, malubang ayang, malubang alo. Imem arara surang, yung mura bilyo or ayang or other outside states. All travel ngi. Sila bo ka elo to yung klaya 4%. Le sila bo endra Koror, ingel stoa nga gil sumul tur seklal, ingil motor nganya 4% lo mungkin. Basugum dim nakalgal, imlamor segir process, imlamor surang le of R by somebody retail store murabilyo geltang. Yung actually imlamor ngiya 11% lang ang ari 3% to import, then diakalgal, madiakalkar. Ngani 4% ilang gilgot to wholesaler. Otro, yung ngani 4% ilunggel. Baret ang angala. Abilog tarang along ng doktor. Hindi imol klal. Igila dia kadesang. You basically the customer don't see it. Dia mesa sige step by step to mo 11%. Ang sigum ngok tim nakalkar. Madim nakalkar anything 4. Ya sigum menggel ada ngarabilyo Amira abras rabaret, egu kulia magit tengi ngerangkles, egu mutul rabaret, About and then another four. Number four, four, four. Again, we don't see it. So, yeah, important lesson. This tax system, GRT and import tax, has been in the books since 1981, when we became independent, when we first elected our president, Harworam League at the time. It was a law during the trust territory time. And my findings was, it was around 54 or 55 when this import tax and this GRT tax was implemented for the whole trust territory. Marshalls, Ponape, Chuk, Yap, Saipan, and Palau. Basically, if you look at Palau at that time, TBS is here, there were only like 6 or 7 wholesalers. To them, WCTC, Esrac, Mirasol, Asaw, Ringil. There was the only 4, 6 or main company then. Haircut, barbershop, only 3. It's only Masami, Irumrang, and then the old man from top side, from Malagayo, Ilukam Naming Loil, Lungul, Yakob. Nowadays, the business in Palau has changed. Some of the older businesses are still there. Nego is still there. Rudim is still there. Surangal is there. WTC sort of went down, came back, strong, still there. But we have so many different businesses. And then, so I guess the question, why change now? Why change GRT since it's been around for 41 years? It's been working for us. Why change now? Well, since 2007, former President Ramon and his finance advisors, with the help of IMF and some other experts and financial world, there's one of them sitting here with plenty hair. Sturgeon, this guy with plenty hair here. He's been around since 2007, I guess, maybe earlier than that, helping us getting information on our economic growth, our GDP, our GDP, employment, businesses, and then they decided maybe it was time for Palau to look into the new way of taxing or raising revenue. And this idea of VAT, value-added tax, came about. If you remember back in Nando Igay, the House and Senate, with the Senate, then Chairman Whips of the Ways and Means of the Senate, who is our president now, spearheaded the hearing around the House. I was the chairman of the House, so I accompanied him with delegates and senators. And we did a hearing around Palau about VAT. Senate couldn't pass it by one vote, so it died. And then Johnson came in. There was no work on it. Then the Marshal came back in 2013. And then we woke it up again, and here we are, 14 years later. So a lot of people say, why? Maybe this is about time. Why are we trying to change the tax system in this way when the economy has hit the bottom? Some experts believe, and I guess have convinced us, I believe, that we indeed have hit the bottom in our economy. Because of the COVID. In 1 year, we've hit the bottom. And there's no way to go but up. And once this tax reform, this is just one issue. This is not going to fix all our problems in Palau financially. But it's just one piece of the whole component, and others are being at work at the OEK. One has become law, commercial arbitration. One has passed the House, it's in the Senate, foreign registry bill, and other stuff. This tax reform is just one component of a big plan going forward for Palau as far as getting our financial status stable a little bit, and then grow with the economy as the economy pick up. I guess we do not know when we will pick up, but as we hear this media around the world, they're all looking at 2 or 3 years. But I don't know whether we'll be back at 2019 level. However, there's always a start. So, like the bill says, it's basically, the title is to comprehensively reform and modernize the tax code, and we implement the Palau goods and services tax. So it basically is combining the import tax of 3% and the GRT tax of 4% into one. They'll explain the rate later, the proposed rate. But I just want to emphasize the name change from VAT to Palau goods and services. We all know Palau. We all know goods. We all import a lot of things. Services is the magic word. Services refer to Palau's industry, which is tourism-driven. 90% or more of our economy is actually derived from tourism. Tourism equals services industry. And so I guess it's important to sort of name, it's just a name, but basically it's the hybrid VAT version of this tax system. So with that, I guess it's better for me to give it back to the chair lady so she can direct our discussion going forward. Sulang.
Malmasulang Senator Isaal. Timos mo ditigid al gora sel loyal bol taletelel tal ang aul mangiria dal change ra system ergid modernize ra tax system ergid el mo 10% ta PGST tel PS al tax kote ko mo malarngi ra import marokul klalal met mo amo 10% import tax ringi ya ulang close to tel the maker say hidal change agay sa ergid al tuira import. It's an import-reliant economy. Bodonguwa tax ergid ram dalatwang eng mo masisi asel do daira tax ergid. Dire ka tax ergid I mean agay sa ergid tourism-oriented economy. Clora agay sa ergid generate revenue ngara touristal may mang kada gira da rulia BSL tax system margidal mo o sabel mutal sabel mutal rebalance ngal mutal redistributor o malal tax mang mo tabasula tax al dollar ngira bekla a consumer at sisi will consumer whether ang tourist malubeng other belaw Kal ada sel it's a VAT is a consumer tax. Mo OCC will 10% tal peringia a tourist e OCC will 10% tal peringia other belaw. Ma tial PS el tax structure PTST direct mo o modernize ra tax system mergidal mora mo sabed el tax ay roguil activities lulda raigel e-commerce activities ay money transfers el dekal wa tax system mergidal el ang lultuira grocery receipt sel omngawdo de kam usab el tax rin so mangida dal modernize total terms al sela a tax code argit ma ay gigida mal luuleng giria al change la tax system ya mo askra a senator floor leader al dabe alamang mo maski daigel major component al mga al sel tal besel al tax system so lang ang senator al dabe
el Commodore Melgora stretch o ide el mutan malungil total merbekla de abenor ngil total mergao ma tigal adam rakor state ma direk ka delegate ngil total mergao o gordeo ngil total Waigel lamadungol tial luldasol mo laal nga madala Senate. Lumokdorik na sing comprehensive tax reform. Ultuira kora kamanga tulo masub. Kadamna mo tigarik na sing ngwal kora maatong malubeng namo wala kal atter atamel dangal alsel. Lang lamo beto ka bek patingala siobar adang al bloom other belaw. Lamo beto ka igel go beto ka talang tingla siobar utilize ar okya kargi dengar outside al may ma direct lo spela kora tokora e-commerce malubeng tokora technology conduct business. Selbol way sige de kada leadership agora amdasak na sing amlamo time no ore RTL tax system rigid ederlil mo kora talgibel comparable time dang alsel ederlil mo efficient ma aigel tretel amalula taxable sa PL maralmi aigel right amount ra tax algirel mereptra amsang lela government kira kalau merak nasi kom la omes aikal previous hearing kamam lagi mlang utial malam maral meliok kabel belau mang diak sal mal mo o dwell on the details kadabay ospera tamle umes tokal magikarel ada siobal ngartial ngania ongil question ertin malubeng kang succession bay so ada los per tiagi del time agora mo remengs at the same time kada discuss ay gigi del gora suggestions malubang recommendations sa public. Maktimo mrare dal di mo mention ay gel gora main el component malubang main features sa tial comprehensive tax reform. Tiang kadamre nga sula president leng mlo sa PL masa klase galel lungil dongot mo kartial in a comprehensive manner. Dia dito mesel gukti one aspect tra tax do the change the entire system the waigel la chairperson ng mam na sa kada trial rebalance ng dia kal salmo klo impact malubin sel al burden ra tax dia kal salmal mo bolo swara public and therefore osisil tameng ang sa the reach sel goal gid mas kada modernize the system. So, tial lulason mo la sumak ay gayel maldinga sel tial proposal of president. Kama makontinue masubi mala kamen trabek la de sel gibom deliberator sel mo final action na Senate. Gimo take into account ay gigidal consideration ra malibang suggestion na bekla. Hindi sel nga sel tial lulason mo la ela tial sumang mo atoy. Ikata mo wadabia igal siobal mo trill criteria manisel dudula sing igal businesses with turnover sales ang 300,000 el morbap ay gigida armari cling mo o so usable mo spare ti ay gidal besel badang la tax el domodori klasen GST malubem PGST e direkal mo o require mo harar sel dudula sing business profit tax. These two taxes ay del tul bedeng la tax amo replace sel ngani el altam el domodonit masen CRT sel import tax. Ang alsumo ay sige del import tax ma CRT ako mo dekal apply mo ay del 300,000 turnover ngin a year businesses. And then sel next sel daw businesses malubang next sel group business nga 50,000 el mora 300,000 ay sa PL continue nga CRT continue el PTax los PRT del CRT system ng alsel and din direct al master option el mo sa PL transfer mal transition el mora at del group PS el badangel omalula tax ma so to mo register el mo PGST businesses, imo pay tax in accordance with this new proposal. And then I get nga 50,000 el merio earnings tier malibeng turnover tier a year. I get imo pera flat amount $25 a quarter or total of $100 a year. igel wal taksir. The idea lasing igigid el business el gukmal migegrey umusindra taksel igel klal lol traw amla mangaira igel maklol kombali kadamla mataksel mang dinagal da kalsal make sense the sender other taksel mo audit malubel bol ol de keda igigid mal gukmal migegrel kombali o sisiltamens edel mastriate alir met the crawl mo maklol kombalin mo sabil pia maklol tax. And then sel ngartial direga ruli maigel business profit tax sa igidel ngar serbabel BPT sel rate ringa mo propose ringa mo 12% sel net income martire. And then igel guksel net profit ra igel commercial banks al propose ringa mo 20%. And the idea behind that, nakblasel altan betirge pera tax belaw, o sisulta metatirge pay corporate tax el moram rigel. Kaya umasinda regal bank al belaw adi US banks. Ang anya igel gukter style dia kal US banks hindi subsidiary ako maklol bank al ngara igel home country tir. Igigid el guk US banks hablada subik masing they pay roughly 21% sa igid el corporate income tax atir. When they pay that the offset malubit ta deduct igel tax rebelal bal pay. Malsumut el altam ta di pera 4%. Net profit atir. So, aldasak na si ulgum makadurulin mo 20%. Ang laas abelal go realize some earnings ra tax ra ay kaya del commercial banks. In a way, albol pe ay corporate tax atir. It appear 21%, so they will be more likely willing to pay 20% rather than 21% ra almura Uncle Sam. So yeah, that was the idea behind the 20% rate del mora commercial banks. Again, we will continue to discuss this. O mesa igel guk pebira o masubel related al mortegi. Direct el tiagi the proposal roli maigel rogul export amo dia ka al apply PGST maluben dia ka tax ra export. And the idea is to encourage export. Mga niya comparative edge or other belaw, malubeng kumbaling ar belaw export more outside. Most of il competitively to compete lo manggala igel tigel partner trading company iti. Also igel fixed assets capital and investment goods igel direct mo dia subject to PGST. Modia ka igel sa deducing capital goods ang igel al klalo waya masil malubeng social those pay on our business operations igigida modia ka the tax PGST ni malubeng inject although del mora sila kung balirkal mo direct kabol subject to PGST. Awan na component at yang mal sumamal ron siya kaming sa komentar beklada tiagi del ngari el altam el fuel tax el altam in 5 cents per gallon sel masisibir ng mala ngartel udas mala increase ringil mo 15 cents cents ringil mo carbon tax. And the idea behind that ruli mang mo sabel wala mo consistent tial tax with the selwal kora color belal mo part ra global community ra gambat ay kay gidel kora tora global warming climate change as a result ra ay kay gidel CO2 emissions into our atmosphere. Again, say propose ng uldasok na sing ay gal kumbalil importa maluwit to laba alu lol sis prepela wala ang they might ang anisil wal ora flexibility tir talgibel al give up bira igel profit tir el guk mo ngul masakabalmente in a form of tax ebol sabi edelo spell address ay igidel guk impact ra igal product del tiro ultraol me al sila bilwat sel one aspect that yang direct and this could be considered well part of say the rebalancing aspect tiagi del salaries and wages income tax el al time sel tigel earn a salaries every 2 weeks malamang every quarter every month the charge a tax a charge to tira 6% to sell first till 8,000 earnings and then anything beyond the 8,000 amo 12%. Elat yalo lasul mo la kada chance ringil mo say the first till 8,000 will remain at 6% and the anything beyond the 6,000 8,000 kada cap per 50,000 will be 12%. I mean 10%. Income will be reduced from 12 to 10%. Anything beyond that 50,000 will be 12%. And then Tirigel Guk earn 10,000 el merio. Tirige at the end of the year, al suguma tax office determine masing maramle ang ariora 10,000 earnergy, and you will be eligible for a full refund or sale tax bill collector ngira wages for that year. So I akti mulo sa gid mer ko ngani tigal ko paper senators mo discuss mamsal ay gid ko kora wal detail malubeng wal kora idea behind ra gid. Di one ra aspect tial direk el kal ngatiang ay gel wal sale ra utom malubeng proceeds ra transaction ra utom al sumo ko lease out ra utom al mora ada malubeng kontra ra utom el mora ay gel proceeds ringi malubeng ngudaw del involved ra transaction ay kita mo subject el more 4% el tax el direct. Again, ay kita pebir component el direct nga al sale telo da sumolba anding no tiang gimlalat tiang di ko maral klaseng direct ang aniya mo impact ngil mo ra core state lem to ay kita el guk utom ra core state el lease el mo ra commercial ma residential man direct el mo message klaseng sige del guk ko abol impact ngin makaradore ngin mendi al salmal mokla impact ngin mo aro kya karami ay kita tiktung e merkong e bols edu alar baby senator suman bol do yet partati sul
من مسؤولة سنتور الدبيئة يجد لي أدينا لنا الستة لدرس الملا أروغوي الستيت government ما semi autonomous agencies راقبلمنت ما بيبي رابرت راقبلمنت أمو وديري قال apply تل PGST المورتير من مو especially apply المرا Koror state government ما يجي روغوي الgovernment يا ديري قال نقصل تلوداس الملا أو أسي نسبة المي يجال entities government المو كاروس PGST registered entities سيجي دعنا السلالة ما يصير director من أحمدي غني كده provisions رلا من ويا بالقولك ملاسين a state government amo collect tax hindi بالقولك ملاسين most el lot tabdi sell invoice el wasay waya Rock Island fee $100 PGST $10 makapera $110 mang au ula mang marulal waysay aruli mang sel siopay, sel bol lorura a report ringi, ing sab elwa sa Koror State tam lakalektra PGST mandiak mo minus ringi mo diakal bol peringi. And I guess we will explain more mang como understand a process. Ma seguida diakal ngaral sila lari lang delicate ralul kang atyang diakal mla misala amang malungi la at both ngaring seguida understanding argit discuss lo aseng makarang at makarang ngungil makal dokarang at address ngiral sala. Ma ti mo ngutel te al explainer sel dangar ngir elang ngara kat mo change el morngi mang mo talgibel clear ma elang tel PGST amo replace ra import tax replace ra GRT mang elang import tax ra kal ay import tax ra kal makar at zero selbeltura port. So zero ay import tax. Dingil wholesaler sel lotru ra kal ang charge ra 4% al GRT. Ngara aral sel kal. Sel lotru mora wholesale retailer. Ela sel labora retailer ang kal retailer lotrur. Ingel retailer al mutal galektra 4% sel arangalel sel aral sel gala mang wang kahit al example awase let's say abrasa $10 sa aralabe kal baras ingel wholesaler ahirel galektra 40 cents Emergosel lo true el mora retailer mangel retailer lo ultra oringi engirel mutal pera arangalel sel mangirel pera medal 42 cents mang alsugo makata ararakalet al barase ang ulmorabli de maruringi mangaringi eng 8% a tax ra kalal kawa amaruringi kawa di sugumang ngaringi makit waya kumangay bakeril lo o marara abras ra wholesaler engul mora ako mangay bakery mang bakery ako mangay bakery lo o trur sel blawang eng mlamo girel mut ako mangay bakery girel malara pera 4% mang namo 12% tax nga aral sel gal Leng seguida GRT, cascading tax system. Makadakmun di ka tax rakal, nanti actually sa PML pera 8%, sa PML pera 12%. Seguida GRT. Ilang OCC wal GRT, mora ang idil ngarangal di kalkal tissue, mbay, langoya, arangolakal, tupperware, ngigel plastic el dom aral bliakal selbel to reporting 3% tax ringi and then it goes through the OCC will supply chain ma wholesaler sell lo through el mo retailer and girel pera 4% a retailer a lo through el mergiden girel mutal collectra 4% tercer rogil aral sel klalo and then al skumangarngia Also makarulyate, balangingal lang ang klele mo ultarar ngi, hindi naman mutal pera 4%. So, sel klo wal burden na tax ang argidal ngartyang mangartyang. Kata other bela wal ngar al siltel kay sa argida kloral tax sa da peringi. Masel tel PCST mo chensel mo watyagit. Sel peltura port, ikatungwa 10% import, PGST import. Sel 10% ngel wholesaler sel lotarur, sel output PGST ringi at 10%. Ending minus sel input PGST sel lamang ay report minus ngi. Masay dal net wang YT dal example ngartiang $1.21 minus $1.10 manggel wholesaler amo pera 11 cents net PGST. And then anggel wholesaler sel lot rural mora retailer. Gel retailer selot o loltrarngi engal mut minus sel lamang ay report sel blal pernya wholesaler mantimo ke kare al pernya kal retailer yal sugo mang morengel adra makit eng mlamo nguk ke karera imol sense gel adra makita mo melarngi. Sige daw ulmat tel proposed el mula akmula sel sugo mga kayo maltela lal medio wa seller kaw hindi kampea tax kadi mo peralu makli maklura every quarter leng tiagi del part na mo malge kare da balgulal da salol toy rengileng mla mga ya tax sertiang ma seldo kampera egal tablol tax system en kadomes selwasay GRT start el gegre emral moklo mang mostra burden na tax ang argi del kera belaw lo magitra dalong alit kadang artegi del part ya a tourist del me mura hotel mga rablawang al hotel amle importam rigen gol me ruli ang mga ringi al ati pera 4% segit sel loyalty al balance al distribution at al tax sel da chance al mertigi del PGST en waya bolos isi wel tax al pernyar bekla al ngaraw ulamang pera 10% mal ngarar sel mandi pera 10% let 10% sel mga raw ul hindi sel value added segit al value added akawa mo pera tax ringi ma alsugo mang mle importa ta aklur tar ma imoklur tiang mang mla mga ya $1.10 sell value added alsugo mang nglolyang let's say 40 cents el moger ngi malubeng kukmo kabera tema ngi ma a profits ngi mangarang mang mo merte ultra ngi el mo $1.50 hindi mo pera taxer sel 40 cents. Dahil pera taxer sel mla mga taxer ni. It's net PGST. Mang ngol nga seora karel siopay el mom sisi. Lege karel siopay mo dahil sal klo el tax al peringi. Direk ngosawira makitra other belaw el motalgib al sabel el pagarurt dia kada sal mal loltoy rara adal galek tax le already la mga klol tax manggel al tax expert sira losaw dara during the economic symposium en wase 60 to 70% ra tax sa mga ertiang yaw au ulang close to talel sel dong urtiang kada economy gida tourism economy ara ada ame visitor gid 100,000 al ada me o meser gid al ditruim email telalat kita importa mostra akalir may malir malaw spell klala ma gero kuirtir al metmura porter gid masel dongo atak sel mo malarngit yang eng mo masisi atak system gid hindi kalway el angal lwaya nguratim kasaklat yang 4% tadibus. Makasaklat yang 8% tadibus. Ngoyal talagi balgura am ituuta sel tax base sergit. Ma sayida mal moktertel waseng raw ulmang amal gired al consider al change sertiang al tax system ergit. Ma tingul morsegide molitra senator Sungino mang mo edabepil and then mo Senator Tabalwal, mo senator sa ngabaw, and then senator ngire abang alam mo close cycle comment mo tergibes model wasing makarang revenue neutral tel proposal, and then agi mo o ask mo malaya question sa mga concerns sa kami. Komsulang. Senator Sungino.
Sulang chairperson alabok to ora kora mamulut kertial al border give maluil tuta ka benor ma delegate marbe class me di ba kumulin ma kora al mutal mal di mo makataklik tiya gid domestic el altam so ngel ngaraba bangay ngel dangar ngel lang manglas mo dia chairperson agel tretele la omliu la tax al morsel end sa momes sel end ng $1.71 ako ngel taxed al dollar gi ya Allah sura lang al mora PCST ako kagid ng aryo makadambala tax sel labor ngel lulubong ang $1.22 ang ara selo mong kada diyo mes tel chart te medanyal masay ngel ngaraba ba klolo mong klolo kada amokte kak masay mangaram kada mala raklor elang emu bel mora ke karel dollar ngel tax ang masay kadol ngosera kabalment mar adra balu mong ngoy segi da alda do unding gina dal magtaklik masay ngay gidal ngarabab al sistema ng ngel ang wayal ngospera baget tel example wayal baget al ngarnya amersel le emersel ang nga kumomes ngarnya train middleman ang alsel tel toy ya kadamla experience ni kada kadamra igal stongar other belaw ngarnya ratrangod al blue lord root esel de tu tangarnya romal sertir matadi melu usabal sir rami karel babier o gore sel a question ak musel labol haraw ngel af le semle $50 bal sem kamlol haraw sir om tob imnetal mesa ngel adrangod al blue pan sel klal al sel masil alu bakadim le haraw emrael ya most al ada adimol haraw le tukti concern kwajim laklira bal sam emrael amakat mok le segil transaction asabel kulo asengel adrangod al blue asabel ngilu saludo drungul liar eungela counter edim la kal reporter ngi mela happen lang ak basya kabalment talus ra 4% sel $50 siya ko telos rigid ya ongeru ngel partner ngel adrangod al blue lo rutras to asto siobay adim la kal sa saludo dumen sabel ngel adal ngulong yai segi da amar sa labaget tel do sa adring ya smart businessman atral ka tra middleman as much as you cut the middleman you make more profit tiang ako ra common sense sa to ra siobay you either cut the expense ka malu ba ka cut middleman mo moklo profit ra elang gagi del duguk tabor ngil system elang ndit mura ol malala ka tunga taxel kabalment mangmla mo dia ka do mes sagel betokol blob al taxel dolay ndit mura porte ka tunga ura ol malel mong mo sabe edel lo spare sagid ludo del gut mok lagi gid rogul ngel kabalment tel girela services del provide sagid amal ko raklol wes sel domes sagid del tulak masing mbay klo a dollar ngil elang anding klo mersel ya dabora agi kare dollar ngi ndi kita ngutya rogil tax segi da bay klol sobel masem magarang adabor segi del sab ela kabalment del segi del full ludo del sab el ngul ngusar adrabalu aktire kal mo spera ko ra o kasiw rato ko ra PPUC kada didiul madanyal musado hotel rato ko ra dengi emlari ingal bilir kita ra dengi magadam lara mirror ma mirror ato speraral mel talbuil e ogora piusia abiler gaw e mas disconnection date tagal kungoy ngarang ngarial at talbuil mal at 2 weeks for the disconnection date ma ila ka daw sperara kadam law spera dengi talbuil another 2 weeks ma disconnection date e matemela disconnection ko mo ngelu ra piusik mo akmal abul ngasugak makadong oswir mong ila ata another 2 weeks el alkor ol ngasirngil di kalkatra dengi sengarang rulin mo ra PUC. Hindi atur tial structure el datral maska service. Lemla mo medal 2 months lo maska service e di kalunga madalaw dudel. Lugut mok like necessary lurior el maska hotel dengi. Segi da wal ko ra ngilo ko sirk masemo. Kadobe sa segi del sistema ng ngarni elang al wal CRT sa to ra mirror. Esaraguk tabara token. Madabol haraw. Ilabas kawa number mul enter ngisel. Digera token. Engwa oblam mesang ter langarela aududem. Omes ringir remurto. Makal ada tul tokomil kat mokrak langaraw. Mla ang osura piusin milsa seludo. Mansab elgut maklade ngilo maskaw. Reliable. Ya ongerung. Kal ada mlamo tial omil tungi. Makam mlamo startel off light. Of faigel unnecessary lel dengil tral katra kostrao logo mesringil rabek kalsils mong segi da kora ige da kora tulo kosil gulablo kosil tegi den ngwal kora mal basic sending at least ngora mo ya klol understanding ige mong ngara gal difference gal tablo tax system tral mo ring komsulang
Sulang Senator Sungino. Ma tiasel bol implement la ing morngia price adjustment. Le el angel importer gaya mo malarsel klol tax mo malara 10% tersel CIF value ra import. Mang tangaringyar di pea 4% malubeng 7% el at mo mangkada 10%. Tangaringiya mangkada 11% ter el ang len 3 plus 4 plus 4. Oral suku mangkal len di 8% len 4 plus 4. Tiga kita dire kalguk mo mangkada 10%. Mangaringyar mangkada 12% ter el ang tax rakal. El ang eta mo mangkada 15% tiga kalguk marti the level. Tiga dire kalguk mo rio mo mangkada 10%. Mang ngaringi sa igid al change artial tax system sa igid al realignment mo o kosa a price increase ma tigel expert tax amlo Mr. sa igid al wayal swallow el beklobli la umaara alospe kal ma ailum lama alu ama vengi maral gelbe close pe seguid el basket of goods mora imolobli seguid al estimate ngil base mongara 4.3% increase amorngi al saku makada konge ay ka rokuil nga asel telul dasal molare lal time seguid ya al estimate ngil base mo change ra aralaklalo mang le talgibal tatsar niya Senator Aldabel dia akmalita Senator Tabalwal mang mo explain na igel kuk changes al mora audu dirarad al mo nga sewar tira sa idal price increase.
Sa ulit chair Governor marmil tuta ko maradam delegate ulit Thomas ma ugurdeo marbekla konsulate al orang trate alam gi modal sagel kama albang resulta magi mal molingita agel gukra kami asir odar semse gut maklita ludur makote ugurde ngarti ase ka gola man titur loldage mongoite makara mo masada tax o tiagira mal tiasira bora olbilak nemadeno sing tatakol mora lulel olbil no madengel wase tiang turwata oldu berngi mengkal memregal presiden tamtil ada tax samlar alsel mengkal presiden tel am direk oldu berngi mengkal direk melam sat lentingil aigel blal ar alsel wase tiang atraigel takol el banglel belau lagad diu rengi eng tala dia kasi di kasi pedem dil waise segi tata udang lil wase ngire del mo gut makli mo modelo sengara ngire del gut makli ngire tiang mengkal lo ruli segi drom sube mo modelo sengania bebira takol nga alsel tial ngani aklung yolel mengedal mes mengmaugirar bekla ade katungu mengtar sur katong mom ere ninja kasel dilak kat maklil marat kurba bagret ya tungu mom ere le bela ospel giredel ngoroyak kresel ngani el time mangara ngar alsel tial gudel waseng bebira ngil tokoy el sebedel gut maklit yang madangali segidem lamo ko se a PCST machi arti ngaraklung yolel tiat PCST lungir tial ci arti yang kita sunginon nas smodilo say segi del ngur ol namle ramdala tuang ral cis baklalo tara mau ulen dia ka omai sel kan sumel dia ka tunga tax ringi dia ka ngi dir klalo nga tandal dia ka mga tax Makatubandangin wasi sel lo dam lamor sanglel belaw, mokli sel sanglel belaw. At tarang al sel tial diregal mal nga al sel ak madina siyang ungil sel katengel time ra rekchir belaw mori sel business profit tax. Tiga katal makatmoklo. Say ngarak lungyolel. Se udre Thomas say trigger tira ngar edel dartel morbab. Agiril mohara or segiril wasent 12% alak kalwi de segiril udo da mangai mor omsnel belal mo singela kabalment. Ngklo tutula bodan segigit rogul showbal ngar belaw. Michael besel mal mateng la Sheraton ing Hilton. Ngungil malamal tapodola taxertir mo kut mo clear kabalment siung tira adre belaw. Mga tmok infrastructure niya ol tokas showbay. Ado lumol mil egal showbay mil may lori maududel el ngaba mogeringil tobd abela aloita. Segunda sing girel mga tmok ese udre Thomas adeng asa kosing social justice. Malamal te atay ma $1 madings lumros tigel ko ay gawam sosong renga. Se girel mo isel to ko segira ko ngil to ko say hindi ka alwida kawalmen tapo to ngel mo say gang ariyang mogeringi dangay gel se gel mogel me omsanglel belaw mo singil ade belaw segunda sengungil to ko. Diregal dia dil tia dia dil gora di waseng madim la siopay. Diregal ani atlen tengil tiang sum sabak la siopay men dia ukti do o dermo sek maigal kapal siopay el oit utum wala ka dur ul se diregal al sil tiang. El akad Marcel tarang al sil tial gumna seng mal se atara mal ul tiang mal klau tutrel segid el ukur tial la tiang adra taksa kongei makama mamsal kongei lo se tiang sel do bodong iten tigan nging mamliwek le subir epingar beklaf dak sel dakal waisi ya adra taksa amlaki yang kurinyo seng awal basen ta ara lakla la morbab segida ul mangani tegid proposal ngar tiang el wasagot es el taksra ududira af sel el tela lengalol mel basen te angidi le do de la el tela el morbab sel 12% adong yang tin motru il basen ang mosob el agil 2% el diag dola el madera ipngel af makarar el ada kaya sel mora ipngel mong mosob el sob klira ngasa klira klalo segid el ukur sel vital atratokol wasingidil garnier adal mo subira tru el telail agir ogul taxel haraw abol kaya sel morar af mongway segid el telail elon el basen te atru el telail morbaba amo tru el basen ndi trigegid el suka tru el telail merio selbol mereka rak segid el ngasyo se wangegid el adal la okde makla kluga kaya sel morngi di selelol mendart mogi maklim klugol mora obisra tax selul gbele rak engel adamra el morsey fala ba bengel el morsey el morsel vindora check en un selul gil tax el harari $655 ma adlo urora mobek rak oral mora finance omnar segil el tax el harari magalment arbek adam sugora tri el teral merio angu sel gargil rangle al ngul mer apply segid ludo del mora ipengel ada mo sebe so baklir ara klal masingul adan ok maigel tren tingil adan ok do tingel wasen dia kalau gol mo kakar ara laklalo segid ado dongli tialongi tagibla mongagi da direktur ngati magimla duli ngora ayomda song mongin aku mra song mongin makti mo do tiam lulu ara tak sama cer agimla lingi tro sebol trim imtelail abol trim imtelail en 1.4 million na mokakara ipingala kabalmente. Di rogul adal suka trum imtelail merio amos ilmu segid rangle tax ma adal nga trum imtelail amos el mga $1,320 at the end of the year. Ngul meradang aklel mangmo ngosuil ra singuladang aklel sel trum imtelail ul magim dangli agel deiral ngara tax sawasei trum imtelail se ungil olgara dudira adal sel trum imtelail se dal harabul ched idrigani hase sel madel ya umasin dra ade belaw moskup ira trum imtelail klol workforce sub isegid lour so yegida bebira tren tengil tial tokol wasei ngungil mendiomu la tax mkida gongel wasei tiang abo ngitin tigringi yang mo kakara ara laklal mo kakara ipngel atara keringiran af makadiomu le masabak ra keringiran af ungila lawai segi de mo sebe del nobal morbab din dia se del mo le dia ka ma do del mo sang le dia ka sebe ketira la apol wai seng mo da tu til tiang dia ka sebe del ungila ka balment dia ka ungila adrablu mo te ka sa pai bolungila adrablu seang aru segi da masuk kalau dorsila segi da kor da tiang yakti ngartia dule bebira tokol el molel belau masing raul mengire del maamalisi sang lel belau sel ka sok sra tax el mogirel misisi el mo sang la Tagdaktali. Akot a pension plan a giredol sobringi a 2024 mo dia kaududel. Makatang el di kluguk ilandim del awak klubsei ewarak. Apol merek tial gim ngaril gingal lakat maklisei mo mering larung la ba demel giredol kot maklagro lan kot moklo. Sel bangle mela digasip edlo mosringi. Ketemu raya national government, kemudian langsung dia kaududel. Malah kaududel nasional yang dia kasih state, ya laga nasional laga state, yang dia kasih bila dalam oklo. Kita bebira amring el bangle del kita malmo el bangal, ya laga kongel mokut meklia tak sistem semisi sang el belau, ya kumdas sel klol el bangle da mo opting el arbekla. Makti odar saya gitu el dadu emal mengasuluh. Wasial punya kami tadi mal welcome di. Saya kita bebira atau orangnya mal kona asih dekat maklitian mungkin yang klok lungulen mar tokolat sulang.
Mal misaula Senator Tapulwan, Senator Sangapaw.
Gobernador muito tau unitra talaga doktora talaga balora takasal si ilmesga adik tong okle. Mga kaya, direge, Mr. Ongidol, kasi nga mo kangartial, masada tokor environment, temlam mo masada tax, direge, akla amral diway gumiw. Aktiraway gumiw, direge, kasi, ngar alege, ngartial, longal tangat, laguk direge, mo abirak lulaw, klol, tokoy tal tokor tax, mangirege, mamadangali. Mamadangali, maselbo da, Chester Self Security, kasi kada mo, kung irtiangan diak, Eblawol Claude Raul Sweg, el dirigel, emlama kami terkami ul dirigel remeng sera angriul pase tiang ungil dia. Di gimral ngal tangata tel committee, especially tel committee Ways and Means lawa chairperson Inabo, vice chairman Isaal, ma floor leader Senate. El didiul na chairman Ways and Means regal na mamre lolbira ulaw. Mung seguidal do ortira ulma Agidire kal mal telur tire, mengalim bertire di gidire kal mal ngaka malau merang masitya, jatara tokol meral gidire del masanga. Jal sistem the proposal moringi, abulur adre angara member UN anamongara dart 190 plus, ya 160 countries abulur adana adapt pertel system. Ulta mesang atiang tamlam subab tokol albadangnya latak se koset tiagi di awan ra atak system lom kodong orangik masing igel self policing dingil el wal police ringi marada mo honest maral lo otiak lungel al silgur mong mo hara orangi ngora hager lam ogere diregal gumdas ko mo ogere ngil direga kasi Mga naman dia kadi dating taamar sira. Rachi arti, eswa dan mortiang. Mal sabel. Di sel maybe akay gidele director atak sa direkal mo hen siringi. Ela kay gida okorde ng artia. Amal kayo kala tristo ang aringil. Di kay gidele mbigay stawang. Haraon al adal asay ng ilmar amal kayo. Bolol dege kay gel stawang esel klungel ay gel chi artil haraw aku kegerera temel engel adal do orsay emdi drur trabe kelchil todor amor atol kasi ko bawan dala lol dege kara 10 cents ma sistem el giredal mo al chela lakal bol employer tol tax auditor sa tax office endi kal sabe edel ming taygero gul amar sel ngara chi arti le chi arti system Blabti ganang itra sistem el dia ka record ra transaction. Sabarin memara klalo ra orior el wandala yang ulmora ngidil belilyo ko mora ultra ngil dala 50, ML kwasendia aktil turul 110, maktihara or CRT ra 110. And there's no way unless ngaria adal full time el mo omeser say. Aktire el dimo o ay kwase sel dabor tagi del sistema ra pichi estil el nguro ol melen. En guara dire el mo so lo basel o sing me mention ngia senator sungi nonding akpayo spering dire el mo rasel to aral. Dit kita omombra aral melmera Oriore cholin ma Israel 5 million gallons every day. Dit nito drang arulwo le gam lang usel klol lang rela aral ti aral leng mal beto ka pegal du kasing illegal tap regal. Mabodol daged kay gerogul illegal tap pendire gal ged el mohar amal beto kaladam. Seguid el tetelel tel kwase gerdi. Yes, sebedo kwaseng mornya amersel apichi esti. Di at least gam lang usel arang lela daw. Maigel mo amersel tianga negligible magagarel gumdas india kalbol sugum ko man pay attention sel first slide ko aseng 170 million a value ra goods met murbelaw egida dingwa 15 million ra import tax plus ra GRT lang a 15 million 13 ma 2 less than 2 million bugula kaseng mal klo amars ra klungela klal mesoy sa murbelaw seguida aswagal mo makataktin di nga kamal kura aswagal mo o ay sel kwasing tianga ladire kal lungil mergid el telgibe lomdas ra kwasi kada magarangi support ta local production desel ku competition ra local production ma compare mo import e dia kada tax ra gal at telgibe wal imbalance au ulong sel dong aklal wal ngara California mulo kordir bela algal especially ar vegetable en lamu talbio taara la sum godom koror ngir belaw matya dire gal sebe del lomme seringi kwase abodo tak seringi gelgal el mesois e galel dire gal ngariya te al seguid el guk taksel gelgal el dobal help per farmer seguid el obal lom gorola igal guk local production seguida ngagal guk koram na a previous administration aklara ministry koram na milsada tora local production akasim lamo gire de lomes tegi del dire el sistema el tax agil import especially at oragal emergo mamot mo ngariam letal madung cheredik endra presentation nga kwas ngaram kada tax ragal makar engmal newil explanation kwase ng unfair el mora bebira shobal gukta kalul tragal makar exempt tira tax etiri di lola ngil al sugum kuk syabal dol tragal e completely hindi kal charge sel import tax en unfair mo ra kuk tra syabal ultra bebi raklalo ngire dro guil mo harar tal tax hindi sige dem la madungol kasi kalmomal aswara sugum mangaringi leng kidro gu sindrom ara kok kledra retail one adawara PCST e kabay ngara wholesale en oredim la morio ra gel ara CR team seguid ko aseng gora maral morio ako marak maset yagida maybe sebe el guk mosob club belaw magel batokol albong alel maral mema tingwa presentation nga kalmor se chairperson emro ko e biring gel gora star gid mo bol gora osmeritial dire kal adra show bay mungil adra kasi
sulang senator sa nga apong star ngir-ebang.
Ngaka diak star diabok to orling oredik mutongak lam. Dakalwangkal almangek. Let me just say a few words in English, and I know there's a number of people in the audience who are probably wondering why am I here, because everything's being said in Palawan. I believe the committee's position in this public hearing is really to educate the residents of Koror and the small business owners in Koror. There has been the symposium, there has been a hearing with the Chamber of Commerce, there has been a hearing with just the hotel owners. So I hope that those of you who haven't heard the last 1 hour of Palawan tax explanation, don't feel too lost. I will say this. Probably most of you have heard this all before. And when I finish, you have the opportunity to make additional comments, and the committee will take them into consideration. So I just wanted to say that because I know you've probably been lost for about an hour. Gulmol malmalgot tor bela dilungin. Alitiam raringa morar other orior, morar other goro state, ma other bela low show by munsil mokorak lo other tial beesululas ulmolla. And so al makataklileng namadong was medi blakatak mo ice was tiagire del morgi leng requirement tra alone or ADB. And the answer is yes. We may not be saying it, but we have said it. Requirement tra alone or ADB. Ograde o kadire kal parent mga ka osper o siul batiang mga ka parent. Ar baby ratay makadamala ar ngalget lengungir tir. Dir ngalget ade kal understand the say. Ta sila ka di mo karangak. You don't. I know better. They actually get the parents. We know better. Ako special o siul mortial gora requirement tra ADB was girul mortiang lengungir kamiu. Gidal blu adire kam nam suberngi. Nas modia senator Isal was tialom suba ulmura 2007. Hindi kalbe esel tokoy. Tokor gidal ngartiang amna atak na attend malubag narmeng sa isel sel maldimle value added tax. Ra nan lolbira kululaw dimla kal mangay. Akpay nga ka ulbangkel sel hearing lomais makubangkel tiagidal. Besululda sulul molla lomais. And I can say this. Ng abay yungil hindi mnakatungur sel time. Lentya yaul se maldimle PGST or value added tax. Hindi mnakal comprehensible what tel dosadar ngirelang. Hindi mnakal losadra salaries and wages tax. Hindi mnakal losadra carbon tax. Hindi mnakal losadra business net profit tax. Hindi mnakal losada igi se maldimle value added tax. Makpasa kadal abay mlengal tangat hindi mnakatungur sel time. Lesel affecting morablo al amlo sa el mortelgib klo or sel domdas uning el al time. Manswa kalkura di makatakli tial luldas ulmolla al muatiagid. Agul spera tokora igal baybira hearing was a government rel al time am suga taksera al sel aswalo. Igal do sugra al sel agugaw. Di sera gimara hearing re ang ito asengi sel awel. Di ere ko dos pe agugaw awela sa alit. El al time government rel am suga ten el gugar al sel ti al swalo. Ti agidel low bubbles, ngaring sel kagrel bubble, embran moklol bubble. Segid el system. Tiagi del uldas kun lon bolla al dosada ngi awasi. Adabor ngi uldas awasi. Ndi regal di ten el guga amor al sel al swalo. Ndi regal mokte ngi suga batokol guga al sel. Se adegal intent ngi. Atokol dos peringa sing revenue neutral. Sel klungel audo de los sugunya government rel al time. Sel de portial besel system alda sose ndiregal diosisiu ndaga dorurin moklo andegal intent ngia tax increase elang betoka percentage sel blamorings telal percentage tiang plus tiang minus tiang plus sei maswakal mom katakliya tiagid sel on masubel blarelia finance which ngartial uldasun molla atiagid. Al suguma PGST is at 10%. And the liquid fuel tax goes from 5 cents a gallon to become a carbon tax at 15 cents a gallon. And tiagida ko close sabi. Al sugum katakatra salaries and wages tax anybody above masukra above 8,000 from 12 to 10%. Malu bakaduk ma tax refund of those sugura 10,000 or less. Now, if we make some changes, for example, sell tax refund let's say, include other belau, namadung, mektali. And we have to look at Aigel Hook Met Move. Sel PHGST at 10%, kalel lakal sa PL. Kalel giren mo 11. Kalel giren mo 12. Ado ase LSL carbon tax, malopting level 15 cents from 5 cents. Madit kira 5, siya nga rin abol minus rin. So, selo rongi tu ringa committee, lobangela Ministry of Finances is no matter what we do, as we increase our benefits and more consumers, you have to increase it on the other side. I get hook said PGST factor. My garogo at the balance. Atara mreswa kalkora al mugut al mugat clean mergida tiakid. Sell possible cost increase rather lang ok at 4%. Ang area mo albolo las mga sabak ringi tialuda sumola. Ang more tirigel masuka paycheck every 2 weeks, which is called salaries and wages tax. Tirigel masuka paycheck every 2 weeks. Tirigel mo malachek al sales. Ang anya deduction or till salaries and wages tax. Maseldo sa the refund ang more tirigegit ang malay gigit al check. Okay? More tirigegit ang malay gigit al check. Pirgel dia ka lolay gigit al check. Why tirigel malachek 15. Mamalachek 2. Tirigel ko kumukudor set the fixed income. Tirigel fixed income. Tirigel dia kal suadar al setya lulasun molla. Okay? Adire kal dia kal suadar al setya lulasun molla. Tirigel to kumukudor set the informal sector. Ngara informal sector. Adal dia kal lola paycheck. Ngal adal AOCers, malubeng ngarae, malubeng boat driver for hire, malara $50 or $75 per day, el cash. Tika ngarngi, tungalge the logrol boy say, we know them. Tialula sun mola ang nguk ngra affect ringin mortir. This egal dolir el al time to degal soadar al seltiang. Tirge ul the swal. Now, al sumung kuduk ngania lil kuk mo mga tmokertir, sektor trigger fixed income direct, social security, pension plan, al sumung kuk ngania without more say. Al kuk mo soba clear sell 4% increase the cost of living. We have to get the money from somewhere. Once again, I gave a challenge and face a committee. Let's say kado ase sell carbon tax sa malopting ling going from 5 cents to 15 cents sa malmiring but the whole thing na 5. Well, sell revenue will generate ring say akuk maadigya manggiret akuk komisara tara rolin. Mleso kal mga taklay ken mergi deling oy tiaungil uldasun molla hindi sell ko kurele la committee up to this stage. Aname sa igel la se el mutel mo improve ringi ya purpose ti al public hearing el kim conductor ngi at yakit al sukum ngarngi aku dirga kale sa committee er komil adrablo am namsang el atte el del kuk adadul basi ka kuk modar sa igay maselongot mo kriteluda sun mol committee el bol madul mare ringi morselungi gito peklat omram sulam.
Malmasaw la Senator Ngirebang ay kita ko ramle sa wala committee lo ayos dibok etal mula say akmo in this presentation akmo OOT selwal gura tetele la net PGST sel gukom shoba filer say gidal almo returner ka. At the same time, ang al-sil tala awasay al-sukumang kamlo file returner kaw, ang niya negative net PGST do. That means ayel mle output kaw, am kasay ayel input kaw, mang negative PGST kaw. Instead by man carry over sa igil negative PGST 4 years, offset ayel el guk 4 years forward ang sumangguk pasatiba PGST raw. Diler sel As kuma sioba yang arnya net loss ringi mang sell business profit tax sa negative ing SPM offset ta future net income business profit tax around 4 years ing SPM carry over sa idal negative net profit tax ahead of 4 years ma that way hindi kal malhelp pa siopay mal suku mengguk mlo ngarinya mal lo maknit talir mangarinya loser kaweng sap emal los per se kita loser kawel waya reduce sa future taxer kaw mang mas kawate alal kora a recover ma ay kita dir kal ngar sil talultas molla kami kamal kamang talultas molla mang I hope pe kom kora mla iwi ya agi mo welcome mangidil question mal upeng concern kami wala ilal time. Ay Ernest amal nga niya question na ngilang mal yoyu. Ano para Thomas?
Ali, ngongil odoson ilal sils, kami ahmal masaul. Kita kurati kau tengah rogoi. Mga koram titul, mga tatul koram maril marung latara. Di tiagi da angakaklula, masakalol ultra tal, bulgulat tor belau. Sel mga tatul mo mereka ngakarbor be mo masangil mo tia ateringi, tiagi da bulgulat tor belau. Tiagora sel il tabra karula tab. Mga taba bitang be om karabitang. Sel kaldos. Milta babitara imamek na ados nga bitang karingi. Acting ursera lang aniya rurut. Tial nomregal senkyo. Tirgem netewang. Tim nakatar til mga dadura takora tax. Tidiluk mo kimaw ngawal. Marunguk ko masada takoy ngawal. Yang mamasikal raw to. Makmlom arara erat. Legumtasul polo ngawal. Yang mukolikala ertranga. Ela kami amalagora tax. Magumesa ertranga kaya kabalo tax. Lang mi iway. Kami amatangay. Nga kami lisa island nga. Yang mauto. Gulong tasul si aradal mo rior. Adrang o blua mo tax. Makumbali mo tax. Ela kami ulang na siek. Tamla malagora nga kalwasi. Hindi kaya kimekong. Ere mataratay. Yang maltakay pelaw. Maturister kamam, ama milira huiripi kamo tiya kalekom lakatole daurior al tamongil busul. Ngkorararungu ka ulak balgosel bulgulat tokor pelaw luasi. Tiya kora kaldos mataba bitang egamom karabitang. Lekamia dirur terrokui el dimilogol luasi kimongo au ulekom ngartilang. Ma president ngartilang. Ela ako maamalgora tax. Etiay al tax, amo dia kalungut sila turiste kami amuk turiste lang akakotop to kasalik, mal di galmi. Mamli kaptok, di galmen rolay. Masel phone nga kadiga kunga sa durtir. Mako mal musulara hungil luldasu.
Kamal masulang tial tax at hindi ka dolang as ra tax. Kada di mo replace ra OCC wal tax. Makada di change or sell al tetele la dola ra tax. Hindi ka dolang as ra tax legi dabay kada bay mangkad ra ngarpa bal tax lang. Mang I guess tikal bay pira senator sa sapir al mutal mo explain na rin mo ngil. Rupa ka ul mandia ka okya a COVID-19 mandia ka skogil may mandia kalpulkul wases arsa lima na mo tiril may malubeng maring laaral belaw le huriping mandire kalmla mo dia ka okya kal morngil yang dia ka skogil sweb kar ada matak trarakt mang I guess ang gira dal mal mongilo mesra hindi ka dokora di oreng sara talgi balkas kalel dulu asetya al amaknit mang asel aigel Rokuil taxa selpo to ngay rokui, engirel maldi OCC wa revenue neutral, ngirel di OCC wa klungel la taxal tungu, mandia kata do raise a tax, kadi change sel tetele la o maliu la tax. Kalel bora vice chairman isal.
Malungil promote the velaum. Hindi ako temor nga blat temer tourist. Temor nga blat say. Ya kalel dil paol blue, kalel dil camp. Kau ngala kale TBS hindi tiala amal nagatak luasing tiada ka balorol mo rurak tialsan ng ya president la anytime nga alselo ko det club se gel minister finance Mr. Caleb Gudu ya mo mo hetra steering committee il mom su berngi ngani amal blduk level to ko baloru datar ngi ya mo hire expert dengan outside baik medic sa Mr. Silas sa mga otis sa higit lurior mam gotmok lastat taurele ra finance bendot tiga ka bola tialla bersodil mo amre gel bo Mr. ong ito kabo Reinhard kapsodi tiyan mo TBS lakal tomer okkel sat pay mingi sa lumaktor rablay
Saula Senator Isad di mo Hensel, Kametisel, Tigingel, o Tirikli, Kitel ngartiang Audasol Mola, ang aring Moria Senate, Sumtagut Makli, Mahausagut Makli, Mamola, Yaurira Katmokal, Lomul, Executive Branch, Officer Attack sa mga minister, Rural Mangala Community, Rogul stakeholders, state governments, Masyobay, mga individual citizens, Hukmongul, Moriak, Morsel part, mo executor implementation itial laal sumtamo pasengi maurior palduk ra umat maklela yegid sila kasngila erurak yegid dilo setiamo abolalla and take effect ra January 23 tergib nung sa erurak anding there got time hopefully in the matter of weeks eng itial mo la eng omul implementation itial mo otoy engania tiada kaldil tax office ma Michael baby agencies ra government mo involved bringing a president mo mulut ko sa mo steering committee el head nga minister of finance mar other tax ma baby ra office ra government overall of three ra tool agencies nga outside mas team of experts on sa gid implementer ngi kita dimdangay kita direkal ngartian arom suvel tiang katmok kalbo the menteri ada ngari experience tir rablu maurior el mirut ngim trigay ya mogay dergi da tut makli direct lobangel say ada mendingan sa rogul tol doru la tolor ala ngari ya resource requirement game direct salba aklo mo ulgiser gidel mo incur ay gel ngidil cost lobangel maklit tiang raguk sila officer tax kumamsawla.
Oi, wil tutau, ondir tutau. Saula governor ma ador government orol sibil ala argit mo kadame ko maruti adra blu ari concern raman. Agote en betoka concern argit betoka questions comments makladi mo doktage kmung gora work day betoka al sungut ok mang degal makalkara imur ongit la ongila dalia tara meeting malwe bol tokol meeting ra sil orior el degal doru ratemel orior temel a weekend or gabsengel waigel bebe da boluxel obong mil bolungila sekadra avel me me gumu lo renga suliu go mal masaul mal bering la albangaliu le ko waigel nam tu ngir bangla AVB baldora lon oval lo meskidek masim o etial temangre gitu lo pategil to ratak mungiri ulungu mangla ungil toy ngau kai akti o mesringil masing sil lo sengiuringi ma osisa kliuringi so far aku mesringi en gomal mongil smodil mo el mongil ratogora business tora ke grel siobai maklol siobai kom smodil mal mongil ratogora a omliu la tax government mo de ka amrsel kung ngari amrsel tel system tangari mang malungil di sel gumesngil song selumsu bergida al asel gu kosngel ak masi tiang wangramo impact ringil mora consumer gel regular al adl wai kamamel guk na retire mar ar adra sales mar adra magit mar adra omngeth trigel hutsul adra blul guk sal interested tira torasio bai ma to guk concern ra inflation ra la adlong oklo cost of living el morbab mal madel morbab kemutial de el gongel kemutiang ngare impact ringil mira a consumer leng guk tiak sal mal madu ratogora business matogora tax akmla gora muy tial lundasun mulla senator inabo tianga malo krok toy mal complicated toy gora require kamiar mlangara skura wa business mangara kamama mo sperar adel interpret up tora al sel magidi sube garinga dimnor sel simple lo sengela adel consumer sel tax tial tora import ra miltur belao claro e como 10% real bebula ala claro engel importera pasa el 10% el mura wholesaler to retailer el mura bebula tana engel consumer ya eventually nga harar tal tax cambia di collector au dude car adrasio bai engun sagablement di engel mral harar tal tax anga kid el bekla adar belau seguida ga bloku subringe mral dir ngosong so sube grin dikmal lo mral mutial ga mitimo sodi elang anga song sa osingiur seguid toy dir ga bombungil makataklik mu tiang mal wangrabul impact ringira a cost of living rigita adar belau magulingit te boltmol subur seguid gomesengil masitiang direk ngaria component tialla al mesawad ratogora fuel tax lak alwin ngara 200% ra increase al time men direk bol sibegel like I said yak adro ure rubai di komla mo subi il quantifier segidel el 200% increase ra ala lu el kumulo aseng makarabol wangrak lungelabol impact ringira cost of living regidel bekla on top pertial 10% el tax ra import tax segid ya kumesringil ngosong so subil kidel el ange malhapira ko komiro ko am sao de bai surprisingly atrasio bai el bangla amlo hukno tatse sel masi sel el bomo sadra tax refund en dia kadil kom di mo so klingel adel ngaria paycheck ringil ngaria dingel adel dia kalau duder dia ka regular income ringing ke dia kam address ringi gel sugar retirement telal adel belam sugar retirement ma es el below $10,000 a year. Sel impact la ala lang okol mortir. Elang guk marabo mosab akartir kung gukti mom sab akartir gel adaludor. Mang akmadengel mal bring el bangaringi. Hindi regel ako lingit melbor niya targamiul senator el guk mo champion ra mar consumer la ka mo mes ra kliole la siovai ma to ra men el kan kel mo o lingia abra ra masi tiang mo o angara impact ringil mo consumer seguida ako missing ngol song selong su waktirel teatri ko su bril mal ka mangal aktirel lo mes selguk togora a tax sel tax ngaraklen sel reduce ra tax el mo o 10% el se mal mo ngir ka mi ar mesu ka 50,000 le altam ko harara 12% e boy di mo harara 10% tiagale la al sal fer el togo allo sisio tax ra other el bequlal mesu ka 50,000 per el mora other mesu ka 25,000 20,000 30,000 o ndakal klelungil telgib lo mes el mot mol au subiu ra togora a tax el masi o ya clase kami kulel gili pera a 15% even moklo a contribution kami mortel el berbuat compared to other 20,000 again mal batoka ora concern rikid ora bring rikida o dak ro ku yakmur el ang nga ka ora ngaria bebira kami mentana kali gel mal ma maklore edel malat al maige ekmui gal ul de swek magulingi tektung em roe vai gulingi tral mutel te al ra meeting el vai gel tilung el mora hukti hutsul adal de aldo sel bebile te gal adra blua atoldur ranga ke rubak bom dut ngera ki gora badak tel motro adra gab mentro ore muy gal toy mugale lungil do mes ratla meeting akmade gom le gol ratla meeting ra blur ore dimle adra blua sio abli tedele ngase igi dimle te la ore bom ngul mo gora convenient tel mora adal ra blu ngel amos bil Oy, again, ang aktil mo mo close kami tanang, ako lingit telbor ngiya tarok mi ar adro iyak lulaw, luguk mo champion na kama mar consumers. Oy, sulang.
Masulang Mr. Ongito pala. Ti o Isaac mula sa committee mula subisil household expenditure and income survey ra Belaw. Agi mal madangalil wasay sel poverty line ra ablur pelaw awal nga ra trim ay maltela lagirel income ra imol household engi sab el sel household al pay ay gel expenses ra adalang okla tax office adire kalmla subi sel expense ra imol dalang okla matingel wasel so may kay kita rohul nga aset terulda sa mula mo ola eng sapel nga ra 4.3% selwayal bol increase ra arala dalang okla meaning also kumatam mangoy tra taltela el ara talbuil el masyora dalang aklir el out of pocket hindi rin nasubil wa seamos tal lobli lerablur belaw adya kangot al karra karngir kadamal ko ati ultuy lertel ludude tal al tongar kerengin may kay hidal retirement income regit mang sel domeser seigid el rangalel seigid el increase sel dalang okla al sugumang $1,000 ratadrak I mean talbuil en sab el mo increase ra a 4% mang increase ra $40 mo increase ra $40 au ulmatel proposal o banggel tegi dalo selbornya tax refund regel three el tela la karkarngin medio lagi das lo se seguida mo cover seguida lo kawaklo dire al bol the ngwa tax rate al medio from elan ditablo nga tax rate di 6%, ma 12%. Masum kada chance ra 12% al mo 10%, and then kal increase ra sa net pera at al lungul mormay, mang mosap al cover sa higit al estimated tax increase. Ika mama actually gimal koram la subit kal mongil, gi mla omes ra ara alu. Wasel suko mang mas sel 5 cents per gallon, almo 15 cents per gallon. Edire kal mornya PGST lo panggel. Ika domes ra ngara 10% al increase ra ara alu. Al compare ngi il mora GRT el angal ma import tax ngari el ang sel the replacer ngi. Ya hotel klo angas aklel a maybe era lalu. Hindi gel aralakal lamakar, wal deka import tax ngi. Ang compare ngi ra ikayidal 8% al GRT, ma 12% GRT, el bol 10% al PGST. Ang ngwayal increase sa aralakal rakme nga 3%. Iyagel other goods ay mal batok. Ilwara la klata lelablay, ma bilet, ma tissue git, ay gay git roguil, diakal ma diakalkar, ay gay 3% ilang. Ay gay git sell the change from import tax ma GRT mo PGST, and diaka change ra aral, maldikme the los issue. Le sell omames tegit al campera GRT, al mora PGST, ang maldi osisiwa aaral. In fact, ang kakita $1.22 ra retail level ra a GRT. At i osisiw ngi ma wholesale level ra PGST. At di difference atak sa mga ra ulil, mga raport. Mang agim la subi sa igit, subi sel alit lela pekloblil, esegid al estimate lo se 4.3% asap ilal mo increase ra bekal dalang okla. O da direkal madingel wase albol masisi at tax base ra kabalment yam usap edal make sure ya pension plan na dekal mga sakla. Direkal sap edal nga sera retirees al increase ra income martir. Kabalment appropriate ra $100 il almora retirees. Pekarak. Gira dal mutal mo increase sel income ra retirees. Adi segit al informal sector. Gimom das wasing makarang abot addresser ngi letirge de kan ngoyala ka testrir el angra al sela system. Lent taadra magi temen de kal report de kal tengel wasing maltela income martir YTC ra telal at. Kada pa ko natin leo, mastria pa ibiretir sa albornya WIOA bol request a refund de to kortiram lo file a refund de. Ako na sa segitam leo ko tel time the street kal nga informal sectoral me eto of dal wasait tamal masukat lang na tara. Hindi kim tingal wasa klol impact ta din kal more sa gidim. Ulmangir ebang laman ni mention or sa igay del tablong retirees ma informal sector adir ka kal bodo ngel waseng makarang ata researcher ya alda atu atir ko banggela Minister of Finance ma tax office leger rogo ya girel balance ndi kal sawadal increase ra tax tiade kal increase ra tax kadi change ra tetele la dollar tialo sisul tax ma at the same time hindi mo dinga maklungel amar sra ba katengeder el al time lendir kal da kadawe sa igay so agi omdas wasi albol mating tabe bi agi de la mars eng mornya additional income stabilize ra income ra government ma il al oblam brace Mr. Ongido blamral mar maklo tutelel embring laptal mamlo mesleng hindi kadawe sa ilang maigay hidal di kadawe sa maring ra ma-calculate at tax office marela calculation ra ilang magimdingel wasi tatelal adar belaw masukaway di silang raluto ta. Ma ikakita ba bira crops ikita this year adal masuka 10,000 or less a year. In fact tamal ba to maasar ngudra 2,300 tal other bilam suka 10,000 or less a year. Yar other ang odol balua 5,260. Mang kadam lil wasing clora population argida akker al belora a poverty line. Mang aigel concern of ram race amral their valid concern. Ay hidir kal madinga sa telal ada masuka 12,000 al meriora tarak. Telal ada masuka 15,000 or less ra tarak. Mang medle wal tela el other bela masuka 15,000 al morio. 6,300 tar adra ngot al balu. Seldongura total employment ya ar other bela loadora 5,300 ya ar adra ngot al balu 6,400. So yes agimra lo mes o masu versel household income and expenditure survey. Hindi kal sa paamal to answer ay all questions engiram al madadura finance let calculate at estimate sel calculation na tax klungela gay zargid ma wana kargar ngela igal shobay. Michael mo PTSD registered der shobay al adi 150 shobay out of 2,200 al shobay. So agi malome sa the statistics mal understand the concern dirga mo designer wasing makaranga da boda tolong seurar at rogulang segida klo maring al bangalela kamitir al time sulang Ernest. O kapo ka Bernard sulang.
Witutaw mura adro kuy witutaw chairwoman na committee. Makabay ko na mo tribal rawar mura committee ang di kanya Senator sa ngabausel lo sa ramal kayo ko kasi hindi kalde asyo bari yung goldar sa 5. Hindi kanya Kaya Ernest Tildrikal, yung kaya naman masum yung marulong makadirikal ka mobile ringi hindi kaya nga. Nga niya tugubat relam lalsil sigire la state funeral ra Rio Lidi ra Kluguk, former Governor Chani Gibbons. Mga artial other administration. May galewuk kamit sir makuk maling administration and bro ngari amo plakatak lebabil nga leadership raka government rio red mera committee mak diso ka mo ngay ko man sulang ngakita delegate ng artiang maktire kalmal lobangele way sige long tila Ernesto si medru truly tara public hearing maybe sel evenings mal supira tokol adra blue rio red may morning sa concern artir ma adir kalau kurang sertir giret tialbil amsulang makot Measure Cell Section 1203 kom na wata nangwa government sisbir al seltiang lumagila syobay. Seguida concern hook administration and of course Arugul state governments I got for non-profit I got provide services in more other blulospe. Sel makuk oduswa magirela attack sa state government or concern close concern na kamaming ay kadi mo yun more other kera bulu other nga drang akira other bulu sila bulu mo subes se buli maran. Ay gali first of all, we're a clue mo uli. Ginawak mesa tial bill, emrong kidrikal lo mesa kasi tial GRT adrikal namo kura obsolete telela tax. Manggila da wuk marabes. Mang kotel uldaswala adra blue a concern team sa gida ula gimalon gitir sil mutal imara public hearing. Makada sao dulu kasi ilang atukoy ra waya abras masos makan suben may man na mga taksele tagi del PGST ma aktiri kalomes ringil wasi sumang ma elasel dana nga government CSB yung basically Koror state government mo affected tiang for now. Kita remove the sila threshold revenue. Sila Dr. Bisways, please, am I correct?
Diak telulas mula mula say aroguyel government amo PGST registered. Level of revenue dekal is not a dekal bulok mas on 50,000 medio and dekam registered as summa state government. Summa 300,000 medio and dekam registered. Any government entity amo registered. Kita ako radi reasoning behind their say gitil. Waseng raw ulmang abayungil al registered. Le way tigital presentation na blel amla presentation or ngele kita klaro pa kay Reinhardt ngele o inge expert tax expert lol nga sewar gidra a PGST mang el angeng ngaringi segi del output ma input mang waya kita siopa el 30,000 na sales ringi ratara ing ya output tax ringi ya 10% 30,000 mang 300,000 ending minus 3,000 na output tax ringi, I'm sorry. Ending minus ay gel input tax awa input tax ay gel lulmaar purchases dirikal minus sa dengue minus ay gel lease el blel pen mora Koror state minus ay gel waya wal suman tour kay naman dirikal mlaringiya ay akidale ikale Rock Island Field blel pay dirikal minus ay gay mang also kung may gidal expenses rin raw kuyam net 25,000 ang minus ay gay minus ra 2,500 hindi mo pera 500 sel net PGST mang say gidal design or tial tax system awaya ulmal dulwa say ngungila a tax state government albol collector or say gidal tax lel so kung mandakal collector nga state government ang mo collector ng sel tour agency. Leng, why say? Yang, offset. Leng, sel collector ng yang geltaraat o minus ng mo diakam pera ng mora government. Ding, akmal understand ra state government. Leng, bato ka, let's say, asyo pa yung nga lister ng commercial lister ng a state government why a lot of the ability is okay a commercial lister ka wa $1,000 a tax ringi at $10 makapera $110 ngel siya by selbol file ra PGST ringi minus or sel $10 langwa state government dakalutal mo perngi asuma state government dakalngu ngel siya by mo perngi mang cell designer tial system al offset. Seguida away along al wall bring tial uldas al mola. Aul mangwasi alunguwa state government. Cell shobaya adi kalbol lut al malarangi. Leng dia kata bal payment. Hindi kalwa GRT ilang. At GRT ilang al tax pera GRT tiar rogi al seller kaw. Hindi kangaral umay nasarni. Mang akti trel explain dari mang katukura mo understand dari ya way tigidal segidal net tabal gulak masay PUC shelam la pera alu PUC la pera PGST may girogul siya pa ya may nasara arala dengi maral man dekal pera PGST hindi way Koror State tamla collector PGST ra lisra utam la collector PGST ra Rock Island fee may gil tour company sa dia kalbol collector say let minus ay gidal rogoy mang beslultas mangira dal mo open rom da sorngi adi mo problem sel sumali sali sel ra adal personal sige dingel atawa bol pera atak sarali serni. So agi understand the concern or maybe the gira dal mutala da dulo say ngungil daralil wangarang. Lagi dia we're trying kada malas mamuringin mo sa el fitra system kita makuklangar kita other belawal kukungot.
Kami kuspir atara example ya kamiti. So maadamil harawa building permit ringi. Sentela arala building permit. Di mo yorak lu nila apply. Di mo yorak lu nila apply. $25, $50, lumang laklan mo moklo muktan moklo. So maadamil elal time yung $100 building permit or $50 building permit. Meron ko yung karara registration ramlil. Meron ko yung kamam magiram taxers ngkel adra 10% ra $50 building permit masel 10% sel registration ramlay. Agi taxer ang kal okyak kal adra balu.
May say director Silase. Why say atel state government tawab al collector sel PGST ngul masanga national government. Why say director Silase?
That's a proposed. Tila propose nga siltiya. So we're talking about a proposed bill. We're not talking about a law now, enacted law. And so we're in the process of saying it. Tila ang el lugil kimdalyar el angal makita ay kanami. Ay lang ang alam matapap. O mangungil agib ng asawa asing raw doon sila Koror State sige. It's a proposed bill. It's not law yet. Meron mal blakatak sel section at yang toward the end kasi tiabol la sila ulit klabsay. Say the steering committee. Ang sakal mo I will slowly mong understood nga niya misconception si tiabol la limo la magalok klabek kitoy. So again, this is a proposed bill. For example, I get the double. 50,000 Dudel and other old bills. So 40,000 is not even included in this. Tiyarim sa daw duya adang hari say. Mga ilape 11.4%. Hindi na kaya doon siya kasi maybe we should raise it up assume anya refund 15,000. Then where are you going to get the money? These are proposed. Masel 1 tiyala within 30 days. Steering committee, bolhead nga Minister of Finance, ay kakita mo nga alin. Akot, mo obtain a specialist advice. Sino yung yawan. Then na-start law you'll hire other outsider, I guess Australian, may help for you. Alela mo assist the preparation for and implementation of Chaltoy. O ngayon, mo ensure that the public sector, the private sector, receive adequate education and the implementation of Tialtoy. Makabalamen. On a day, more overseeing the transition process and provide any suggestion for further amendment to the Olbi Nakalulaw. Tiang awan sa ebola la, and it might be 5% or it might be 6%. You know, we have not decided. Tiang Senate, here go more a house. A house going to do the same thing. They're probably going to call you back, Koror State, Pelilio State, Ibura hearing. And then ang mga president, president na kanila military return rin yung Klaigel Soal for consideration. Mang global gula, at understand na siya, tiyan nga the deliberation process. Hindi nga kalbol ito ko. Mang bay global gula, kasi nga raw to assume ka ma'am. Instead of critical nga, kasi kami ang bala, di ka kamusubi, di la insult. Tapos ito la siya, ay kakita so ma'am, ibom consider. Leng bayot tukoy do somiu, gimreng sa igal bulu rogoy, ma business community, ma Chamber of Commerce, mlame. Edrut, ngakapay malay gin mologoy. Let's get this to the village. Let's hold ang repeat. Miyuns, ngremit. Dupay kalpay, di kamantial mo ng alo, kamantial mo ng esal. Why not do it for the hamlet or your? Begin brings a pushed hand, you know. Adi issue kulgoria kasi this is not the law yet. Mola 2 years singaria temet el mutul militar ni o mesri. Ya sudo mendial pick up economy, itigel ngarali the civil sel time apa lo rotella. Ada kal ser termal economy gitu lo. O sis betera ngiara. Meng apa issue nga kay gobernador planteli ikan senderat atiagi. Ako tuklaw revenue orior. Ako mendas ng atial sa lumina tourist malis payment. Member of a gamble by say, the commandial in Nagim alone or the Senator Salim Malgari, Jan Lomley, House Agilingay. You know? No, facts are facts. I got to Jan Lomero be. Facts are facts, you know? Hindi job SLB maula gimrama. Gaya lang ibang alam ngagita. They refuse to entertain it. Mangiril refuse to logas mga PhD lawyer tal real time. Ngubang gamama alam essential. We have to do it smartly and not just across the board. The economy ligita has hit the bottom. Essential di across the board abet toy mumli nga kita. Goto sikat te alien medum. Di ka tra medum moldu ligita mutu mal sila. Sulang.
Sulang Senator. Di akmal apladra Senator tiyel ma udasul wase medlut kut makliya igel atelal meeting mo sabi malong ititrip to kala memte educator team to ang litia mrong kamama dire ka ukti mo agimal di bukten mo forward sel public leadership at maldi address sel la kumda sa kumam dim dang lin na ikora la kataklel concern na kamamel kamama dire kam super gil dire ka wadi sibakre ko kasi how it's going to affect the lives and the livelihood of other blue American Adam dito ko you know omula drang clear mar retirees mar rogoy ma koman sulang emrong KSPL nania somi mo address salu ko ta bai di mo waise
Sige the Babylon may please tell us what you actually ramal kura of the sea malum proposal kami giren sige the revenue ra Galwak Island tour my gal list payment other long list may gamam long list or again kum ngara ko ras ngora so mamal musaw do sea la sing ngara do sea girel gibo mo do discuss ng ilabon tira restaurant member Senate.
Governor me diksertiam mo o supplementa igigidil gukora understanding gidil gidil tel uldas. Ela ultuira igigidil masubeng tial BS PGST basically taxela business. It's a tax of doing business. Asel trigal guk expert el advisor gidak masesel ngani igigidil gora the exemption and create a loophole or say gidil te al modiaka the capture igil gidil tax el mesoy se bracamelment. Le el igal state government ma igil baby agencies el charge of fees arwa permit marwa arwa island fees mga nangklela igya cost of doing business ma private company mo mala fees mo mala permit tire mo sab el deliver said product lo trari Misal at the end of the year, end of the certain period, agil file taxir. Ay the rogul cost till deliver sell product or services bill delivering. Agil factor in agil tax el pay. Le lagang mo diakal reflective sell actual cost of doing business at tier. Aul mang kadami ang dasak malasay. State government legal they're in the business of selling a permit malubeng issue lease ada costra ada low show by malaka the capture say gidel taxes say eventually say governor ade kal bol burden el mora state leng kopas an ngil mor ngey gidel okya abay di mo koriol elang akmla say ay gel existing agreement sa walis mga nangklil magara bodo address leng ngani say gidel ukana la akna sendi kal sepi retroacta burden ra tax el morara already nam kat mokal agreements mangla gidel di the moment nik plasing magara bodo apply ngin di say gida one reason ng gidel el minimize ay gidel exemption desel bo misima el exempt ay gidel bebir cost en mo diakal sa pedel lo de Michael Texel merong ya asyo ba ako ko bal especially gay tour agency sa ul pas ngin mar okya kartir merong akabalment ang adang usay gid revenue sige na tara ang ilum so del consider
el alla exempta hospital, medical clinics, educational institutions, ma PCC. They're doing business and then direct al mora consumer. Hindi kalborang idil siobay. A difference say Koror State ta provide a service al masiobay. Maara adal direct. Ding seguidul sa niya al dapel ang makarang at the related system malaka exempt lakal ngari gay dal kora exemption sa al selmal al beot at wadil tal da apply ringi mang yes akmal understand the concern and ding seguidul taslo sel opsanga invoice sa ating malplakataklo sa tiagita arala service ra state matigida ako PGST tax gitam lamora ay gel belulo PGST sel obong nga mga invoice ra kang malplakataklo sa tiangral tax so kada di trial maintainer sa igidal integrity ra system malaka a business sellable pera tax ngira PGST eng may nasa hirogul expenses rangi per net ngora while deal protector sa deal integrity ra value added uniform mararogul expense ra business hindi kalgo kasi okay ay kagit expense ra kandi kal expense ra kal black pen ma Koror State ta kal sabi kal minus ngora diway sa igid lultaswa adobang gila tal understander ngi and then of course sa committee mal open al mora suggestions sa ma ayel wasing ngarang mal mo impact ngi am malungi la state tal sap LOT sel mal mo impact ngi mora a cost of service al mora adrabway mal adrasyo bay ma committee sap address ngi mal blakatakle ungila otutel. Sa kita di concern na makuha sari. Sulang. Kabong Jolie.
Sulang Chairwoman, kadisto kal aska tilal blem molorngil just right now. Ilang compare el mora hospital would be exempted under this new system. Of course, the state provide the services el mora businesses, what tour agencies, transfer sila hostel mer tourist, which is dagim against the hindi kora ko kisang almo malsang seltil ang awase obra hospital haraw or insurance sa haraw or MSA. So sel revenue maybe revenue neutral. And dakal talbe sistema dakal nga sang si hindi ko in terms of our state al function al SNNT til malara sel revenue mura tourist translate ringil mo services sel mura public, for example arwa trust collection maigagi dele nga service laging provider ngil mura kel masang ar obli lelos pe anges or watento ma atebel mangrang igagi dagim most pertial revenue mo ringil in terms of atraurior ma service gim provide mang oy ngora mo it looks like agi o business lagi malaringil directly from business, but ndagim invest ndek sel gimuwa di direct tel more employees el marula service direct tel more egal provided services are state makora mo wasing sab il mutlomes ringileng selbalway say under this new system agi boringin magira malukuk either agi restructure a state or terminate adjust this year or agi mo charge services. We have to figure out a way to transfer that cost lang agel especially legalalis agim alse sa legal terms. So wal bolakal revenue neutral el mera state lagi mo gira malmalasra morior tel existing el system el ngiya exempt state under sel moral section exempt state tamang sa amal ul magi run al ngaringiya savings sa kamam maroguyel diregal take care gida during around time sa economy welang. So say da wala diso kal
mal clear we understand am sulang.
Abno tiantig le koral sebele tikla ada la review mal lo mes tiang direct musum opinion review le control state global goal korak me del mobility del moragal lo chief of staff sel para page 59 ya page 59 la middle page line 3 yang masalah creation of corporation and general provision mo amin la al ngani le dang la PPUC, so I'm going to read it because PPUC is not exempt. In the other time, a PPUC is exempt from all national and state taxes or fees. Okay? Sel la PPUC la. Ela naka-omis yung sinram di PPUC Reinhardt, area ka PNCC, area ka WSCC, ay kal corporation la. Apaluro belaw diwa PPUC. BSCC. Well, I will ask other lot this is going to be a true benefit as the Koror state. Lesa sela lo asing ram tiang ati exempt to PPUC from any national. Allah propose lo asing kakabura page 59 or 60 shall not be exempt. Mengmopay. Mengirel uniform ngi mabebira asemay autonomous agency tial belur belaw. I don't see it anywhere in this. Ako lingit aktirek lingit adalar mam adalar rawan heart dembo mesa sigid la singra differences la abi SCC mopay 10%. Hindi ka BCS hindi ka ngalala, hindi ka PCS tirela. Mga nataharaw. Makambosang. Basta arumaliklit timul morsay. Not necessary in the law. Anyway, well, I guess kada mo askahad Allah, Aula ko lingit sa ala ko state to asibo mesang at tangal niya uklikal apino lesang musib eto pal kamper at ala. Jadi makalulur niya at ala lagi. You know. Jalulur niya at ala president mababayan. Now I'm putting myself ilguk moraka aside the state, my side the blue. And that's what we should do. It's just assuming they're doing it, show it. Sige dia, aku laku lingit detail wasi. Aku raya ka governor. And maybe your lawyer can also look deeper into it. Laku mas kami amod ado ekom di ngara. Abe bol hindi makulingit wasi ala. Kami asking him bol bisa amadal. Mesay ka mga niya kung recommend del merkamam, recommend dem giguk para ala kamam. Ito kampera notes. Legal belul gibor niya dia ka adala artir. Wa ikaw lo ba adala lo mi. So you as good as us. Sulang.
Sulang ya Governor Rigel comment trakaw ma Jolene. Ngwa help para mamal understand ako ka point of view Koror State. Especially Liz amal mukla impact niya. Erbekal atal pealisa mo filler cell increase ma. Kaluta makabernor leigura Lisa.
Chairwoman, makamiti adala aroma na gutmok la bebira kora kamen silgiret tiang. Ding direkal tia mal lokrok bil emro mang admit wasi no dakal dim lakal mesal mal mo withdraw gir. Dia imramle tuwa bedel kora mo question ramam. Asil to ko gagi dale fair market value. Insa ba malaway sila ko korab losum interpretation ako merlired. Hindi kimpo na correct ndiak. Hindi alebok ko kora wala example aldiwile. Kagita director KSPL ng artiang ma Mr. Ngiraidong board member ma adrala ara KSPLA. Ilang alis rorio kadamang regulasing tial government makatek to lore kada aral alis ng ario mong affordable at more atra blue. Ngani ka rate residential, maka rate commercial of course. So let's just take an example, residential, saying 50 cents a square meter. Magi KSPLA charge rather 50 cents per square meter. But let's say ngaringi yang arat kulara ela. Egil ngara bakro dan tela tu sisi walu bong. Egil walk away from the main road. I walk 40 cents a square meter. Bela sell fair market value. A value regal lister oriora a square value ringi yamut teleng lakra 50 cents ma 40 cents. Makata mo o tax ra adal ke alisa 10% rang sell 50 cents and 40 cents alubang sell fair market value emro ko niya tanga assess or sell value sell utama. Sige da kurakan sa question na kamam. Oo mong maybe it's something for us to both sit down and consider siya diri kali imo kamsulang. Ngani aso malko director.
No, me ko maklat kita ma'am. Sa ko tolomu ra kablement kita antara constitution. Emnanya provisional wasia. Skoma state talista utun mura a business. Ya paciente sia mura national government. Siem la masul. Not too long ago. Why did we legal support the state? Segiri akan senuna kan ilat yang PST. Ngeram kan guk botat saya gigi the list. You know, when it's fact, it's one way the state can raise its own revenue. Segi da ul orioram sisi la ay kan namin giray-ray mga ay mali mawabli liyo ngadalo magir. Lagabi yung lekot tialo gulablu ang may kalutom mera imomiu. Compare mo ray-ray ma yuriw mo nga public planta. Segi da lang aswada maintain ngira state level. Karana ikal state hasil mo orior. Hindi ultimately ngaramong kalimina pa center alis payment ako state. May kalbebi rablu eguk mo diak ela kadugi tu wet belalingir another way. To me, segi dia aku lu bertiang emosi tolias setiang di ngara dia ngara sel. Direct lihat lo mes maybe sort of put a hold on. Ela kaduru le ndiakal bankrupt national government. Sulang.
Sulang Senator Isal. Malungi la concern ka Governor. Maral nga niya fair market value. Akong taswa direktora taksa. Al time al suguma let's say nga niya import al met mo ito tikal salsurul baseng nga value ringi. Nga maral value ringi is if they feel baseng undervalued or invoice talgipal understated. Hindi ka klisi irala alwaset tel amral girel tela value ringi. Sedi mastrira te alamat assess ra fair market value if they think alwaset something is wrong or they are correctly stated. Di ko kumda sa sumangarala mga regulations sa state hindi ka girel la fair market value la mo apply mo ring why say directore atang hindi kal sabir. Hindi suko mangari nga ako ra tax evasion, malubing underreporting. Sige tira mo sa ilos, pero sige la fair market value assess ra a right tax. The law is sterile wal kura talgipan sa nga klisi tax office sa mangari nga tax evasion. Hindi suko mangari nga la mga regulations sa mga state hindi kal sa law of fair market value mo override ang idil nga state. That's the purpose of fair market value. Kawangi Jolie.
Senator, inapo sulangan clarify til al fair market value lagi na question ringi. And hopefully ang modal imply mo explicit ng arsiltig ka protection ng mo sa ringi lang just to give you an idea lal sa dila ka benor residential list 50 cents per square meter charge nga state tigil nga kularal tigil nga secondary road 40 cents. That's way below lang nga one transaction na many years ago. Selbong comparing is $75 per square meter by fair market value, $75. So $75 versus 50 cents. Sige na gim ko na mabigit karingil wa sa ulo ko mang timoyer ang adal assessor fair market value and at what rate ang makarangable effect nakadil operational state and dingal adal makaragi mo mongol ringi adal ablu sige na gibig karingil.
Malbay sila impact. Kapag Lisa.
Malungil tutaw. Ngora malungil tiel proposed al PGST. I think it's good. It's a good law. It's a good change. Abay di suggestion na nga kalmo state level lawasi. Alwal waktu rak maliyak. Abay di suggestion na nga kalmo state tawasi. I mean mura committee awasi define what is a small business, a medium enterprise, a large corporation. At this time, in the two level, Mundios issue. At the current moment, a small business, a large corporation, pay 4% GRT. But if you define the small business, what is a small business? And we'll state level, mal handle ring 50,000 in medio, el issue a license, el collect taxel. Honestly, farmers, fishermen agire dal encourage tir matamo malaya check ang musab aril apply loan na lom araert. At the same time at apply a business loan al malaya doongura omingit. E nga segi de kada graduate tir al more small business al more medium enterprise al guk nga segi the level at tax. Gire dal encourage sa kada makarang e build ra economy hit nga segi dal teletal. Sa wakti suggestion na nga hindi kami uya alimios kom. At the current level as kum 300,000 al profit mo pesel 10% net profit and still ang active kami sa sel how am I going to compete rin kaya 300,000 as kung aktiga 7,500,000 na gross profit rin ling 7,500,000 I'm still paying 4% GRT or if I want to get into PGST it's a little bit more but I'm covered. But still, in the halbaskak sa advantage, compete mo reach sa level ng nga was urang na mawesta. Sa ukti suggestion na nga state level sa ko you're talking about hindi ka sa edal capture tigel informal hindi ka makarang encourage team matametwo ba. Akum da sa kuk nga ka usinga ka kasi perhaps sa more state level state level o Koror state they're really active sa ariral provide self support service al more community tir honestly al tokora sers I've seen their work lo other PCC aquaculture agriculture so at the same time at the administer lease matamdangil wasing tangaranga commercial at tangaranga private lease apply tayo askum tamo apply PGST el ngara licensing level at the same time el ngara tax level it will provide a sel incentive support service sa government.
Wow, til amaral lungi luldas off the wall el mal sapet al mutulom das ring il motmol pay molitra senator ngira bakal mangura explainer sele gikarel business el maral moklol business yung arang kura advantage ra tegi del PGST.
Gora daqal sal suagal masadar ngiling omla omis nagal no okurtial gora related to some other entity. Di agumral wasen la gira del senator isa la gora bilsadra tetelela business 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 50 years ago. Magada omes kame the reflector say. Ngramle business landscape prablur belau 30, 40, 50 years ago. Mel al sils. 30, 40, 50 years ago, there were a lot of small, medium, and nariyam makasal maklo. Sige da kukti osnge kani 50 years ago de alche kal masa da ni ndira bokka ndi maybe 30 years ago di al sils ngara business landscape prablur pelaw batokol mege kare en makasal giant ngar serbab ngara drong le ladiak de ngara middle ground ngara middle ground al other stal kora siobara ngol belul amlet moon pora sabarin morse ngariya togol factors la sedlo sing amne contribute morse one of them may be financing another one of them may be access el marautum dinga ko mara sesel got clol factor a limit ringel small el jump el mora medium tangara tax disadvantage هالك سعودي الواتيان نسيت الباقي المرة يجي البابلز chairman person chair lady المرة يجي لي بابل تي يجي البابلز oh anyway ngosigra bubble and the circles model what yang. And I'll illustrate it in the bubbles. Ngarnya close tax al haraorngi a small business compared to those giants al ngarbab. And it's just due to the structure of tax system rigid. Etiagid el bes ludas molla amongu segid el advantage el ngaragil maklol shobay. El telgib el lesson ringil sob aklingel gegril shobay min sabel nakabagar murababol. Sel imo. Okay. So haladik piskida example ra shobay el all time arada soilos pe angaklo dinga tiglos pe angaklo. And shobay el all time lo restaurant the importer. Okay. Akmo kamperingil mara abegeril degal importer. So ere galle mendaga do southern sell 3% import tax. El shobay el angel giant. Gelo musa klalo. Adega petax ko pakal mura babol. Degal petax ragal o ingaigid. Diseb algo goringi lo trul morgau emdong okersei a tax nga sel gala 4%. El ang kita ladrigum lomre kan mga igam. Ay gam lara akong balil degal import tagal. Tulum aragal ra one of the few top importers. Okay? El ang gen namura retail one. Mela automatically sell kong balilo hotel o restaurant, they only take 4% and pass it on to you. Di across the street, Ralibu Street, sell ko kimol marulaigang. Ay gerogul dom arse ang niya 8% ral sell. Automatically they have a 4% disadvantage against the angegidel. Imora osisul marulagal. And ko carry it one more step. Akmong adra magit. Marulay galben toldo mar kador ared arwas pamusubi. Telal tax angar al silse. Nge actually retail too. It actually should be retail 4. Hindi sindro o magita diagal. I'm sure they don't pay GRT now. B mil ararangel bras mas pamrak mungger mga niya 4% nga alsin. Ang moruli egire per another 4% lang o trul bakal more sales to alol travento. Manamo 8. Ekal mol maarar. E obro sales to ang ekal mo per 4% sales to alol trul gaw. Makanamra 12. Now, akmo sales to dingin mru labentor ngi. Dingin mru labentor ngi. Mal dingra 4. The first, the second bubble. And dingal mas mrula magit, ang arangel number, ngel goto klol bubble. Ma point tulgulgor niya, tianga, this happens in a lot of sectors. Dakal salmasang. Awan, for example, akong balilo tourist, umusa earth mamsil. It happens there. Kampel morada mora NDP, pilgirel malalon. El momara tamamsil. Akmoto gal gombali adire galo tourist. Hindi na pera 4%. Lo true to itself. Dingel guk mlora NDP pin blam alone had to pay that 4% on top. Tila happens in food. It happens in earth. It happens in a flatbed truck or a dump truck. Or a boom truck, excavator. It happens in a tuba in a construction company. I'll just say it so you know. And that's the reality of the tax system. Only the end. So what? Sengra rulin mara consumer. A klol contractor al suma ada mo sperin brurablin who has all of those things. A consumer pays 4% less for their home or their renovation. Alborage real contractor who has to pay for all of those things. Automatically their cost becomes 4% more. At tiang rang ruli, 10% everybody. 10% everybody. Mauula Again, maklol kong balin ngartiare lang, tiringar bebula mountain. Tirige girilo monday. Girilo mondare altan. Lengrang, tiam kitertir. Abay small to medium sized business, ay giril supporter tiang alung irtir. Radim na suwakan mga taklisin.
Kapangihayato.
Aling maling itu tahu berarti Allah sulanga chairman ngartel obat tel mera boy mgador sebedul aldo sebedul ini dia kan sawala kabe nor gimrai deringi ya kabe tel meeting ngal dal diga nombre kan modua senator Mason yang agak dia kalau upload follower kami orang strategi deh asemdo setel Marcela kabelmente di sel kukume seringing elat mal masa kembali bela wata beli CTC ma surang lo musaklal ma pevira masai namo ta luang ramon man nepto ka musaklal elat sem no se 0% etwaya di blel pera 4% meng ila 6% lo dakar meng mo 10% mela tigay gidum da seng Marcela kabelmenta Alhamdulillah setemu pera di $25. Mereka dengan ngadol kembali. Jika kau mesti kerja setirek kan muter mau wannya value added tax yang mulut kari. Di serang arabong gigai ngasih orang tiagi 4% terarokul business. Wholesale lah, for maka retail lah for, makutang lah for imran mo. Elat tiap mo, kau tiagi dengan endarat dem lah, semua beringra, abeli CTC. Kami mengira kalau kembali kita ada belau, itu yang terbaik itu malah dividen ada belau mah. Ia kalau employer betul ada belau, no, kalau kembali lah, kami semua malah memutar irai. Dia kalau betul ada belau lalu orang ini. Dia kalau domes lah akal malah mai, insal mall. Kamu mungkin kayak itu orang senator asing mau kasakal lolo mus. Total emptiras startir, mereka aku keluar musiawan. Letia di mana tadi aku kurang malah. Segi dia aku kurang di oseng kari. Mereka eka mengasal setua. Lomus mana mau mengasal. Angara mung kadang mendengar dia. Wah fit asal di musia. Wah kontainer biang. Elang namo simbra sangat tengok mus. Madi konti ka asing. Umko mga tiang mendiungin. Malu lakal mga. Yang tiala. Insabela obisra tax. Almo umanitora gitu itu. Oh iya mo, double city sing makarang sabihin mo computer til almasi. Ay garo kul stong lomusak lomarak la lotir. Kato makarang connector mortir to di ngas gide. Mergo emsal wasan kapil ara teral hotel to. Na to teral dokora asimros en mora karang kles to. Ay gide ro gusto. Ang terki ngani segide lo mangkar tial GRT segidel retail store mo ay kita korap jagalel sebagal kung ela hindi ko taon ko tiak tiak iwitan la mga kadi o mesaygal molko tral enser mo kumal masara te alle al sum ka mutel mo ngara kalhang agi ga mutel me dumalo kumal masulang
Aman masulang. Kalmutal mera, Jolene. Governor.
Chairwoman, medik iberte ki mol masumra kamiti marokul atang al silabla ki pa moral. Emro ngi kamin sira magi mok le mowile malo dar sila ko kamiu. Emro ngi mal mingira nexel tokol mail girela maybe a public hearing la gel Hamlet, a lubang combination of Hamlets. Dire multi available sit down lubang kela committee guk mutuliskas a bebirat trang tingilay kaya gitu ada mamar ala silsa. Bal di beway segi de kurang asuli we moral. Sulang.
Kamal sulang ya Governor. Selgi pom ngusel pa bilngiw. Sep ila adralar kamamalo meserngi. Ikadal mutal mo adadu alwasing. Ngaranga ungil trali ngorior ngungira state dir kalungira at kal oy adang ler adara balua adir kal mal mo fila impacta sumong mornya ataksel collector nga state ay imal dang lisema imal marenga sulem mal los de emal mega matir kal adra horror state ma kada mo ngil ka tagi sulang direktora ng SPLA ma chief of staff ma direktora administration on sulal may mang Koror state mo marail ma tirgel guk ngot ang ngari kami tertira please ito continue ra public hearing. Okay. Kapag Dr. Talay.
Misulang chairperson mereka sulela tangakal gobernador Orior ma chief of staff ma tergang ariya alsangri klo albanglir kluguk longot mokortira lorale di kuwai silo asal sugumong moni kaya dal botokol hearing ko mo spete albasyor abla bol weekend mandira gal di ungil ko di metto ko yagi mokut maklil girel ika kita ko radio tige senator angiram sub asel aklarir nga si segi del ko ratoko lo aseng modia ka taxes sa igel ko products el meider belaw mo dito ko mo ko kikrsel lagar adal nga klal el melo yak segi del head no 3 era compact bolo yak segi del abol tax free ongerung di kulingit mo protectora integrity sel truil basental taxer adlo nga sir o endowment ra PCC may gal tuition ra gal private schools mal se el mokat mokle senator Mason madire galigel igel intent ma ra 9-22 ma 10-43 kami amle pas somewhere kaida director ng Arteloreng sang dirga kunguyul mor segi dendi temedel gor otobo dal do sweda medi dolingit ma igel intent ma integrity ra gegi del public law lo mol maldingari digegi de ko mamsulang
Sulang Dr. Talay gegi del lara skill labor magim dingala sa kamal hold those there to your heart magi meral mo tsikara lal girel orat talgi bal vegar el angmang agi mutal tsikara adra lar kamamang clear namo
Me share telo bengela presentra PCC in other statistics global goal direkam lomre ka atapa ko day senador first yak share telo in mga along yak share ngi kay Mr. Delea all wala ki track ra kamel day ma igel kam ko palo la ba tiak mel ko la related more say where do we put our money Get consumer bela where do we put our 2 cents or $1? Tiam nomre FY 2020 indimle 3 months em nanya tourist. Gel January mora September practically zero. Gimne project la 69.1 million local revenue. Local revenue mga taxes. Ano fish tax, fuel tax, business cross visit, salary, wages, hotel, general import, alcohol and tobacco, delinquent and penalties, taxes, ngaya license and permits, business license, fishing days, fishing days scheme, toluro, and dim lodial, and dim nakomnet, foreign labor. Magdamne project 69.1 million, dim le collecta 53.9. Ekagira edel kotumlem flow source of revenue gira local revenue. Business cross visit tamne 13 million. Total for the whole 12 months FY 2020. Ang ngayong mleklo a salary and wages 11 million. Ang ngayong 8.9 million el tax at all marro. Makumes ringi, kola analyze ringi. Omes cross visit Say, ngania a 4% tax sa tol marom already. Ngania a tax sa igel excise tax sa sila sisibe. De Roma ang ngania excise tax ngi. Madoko le plus muras tuang mo try ngania another 4%. Ba. Ako lang doon siya kasi kita al amral makita o mangalit, makita o malim rigid, makita do lam, makita amalit. Can you imagine a small balloon below? Tiang rala do kol maro madin legit. Lado dim na tourist. It was all among us in our case. Yung ngede club revenue. Algoron digit. Sula.
Di kanya comment. Abla bola comment kad mo close sa hearing na mo 3 hours sa hearing.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak as a citizen of the Republic of Palau. Sorry, I cannot speak Palauan, and if I tried, then you guys wouldn't understand what I'm saying. My question kind of first goes to Mr. Mark Sturton. Just like to thank you for coming. My understanding from the economic symposium was that you're an economist with Graduate School USA, and you were talking about if we were to change parts of it, like take away the occupancy tax, say, you'd have to change either the PGST or the business profit tax, and you mentioned. The 4.4 million is kind of, the change of that would be 2% on the PGST or 8% on the business profit tax. That was what was in your slides. And my question is, is the financial model that you are getting these figures from, that was developed by you in the ministry, is that available to the public?
So far, we haven't distributed the spreadsheet that we have, the estimates for the tax reform estimates. We have distributed parts of it. So.
The reason why I bring this up is at the end of the economic symposium, Kevin O'Keefe from the Graduate School US, he was saying that he was recommending that the leaders of Palau, the ones who are representing the key stakeholders, they are cloistered in a room with that financial model and with a technician to adjust those inputs on the financial model. And within a matter of hours, like within a matter of minutes, you can adjust those inputs. And then within a matter of hours, all the key stakeholders, all the representatives of the key stakeholder groups, they can come to an agreement on this. I don't think that will happen because it's going to go to the Senate, and then the Senate will propose to the House will propose or pass, and it'll go to the President. And only if the President vetoes it, then there's supposed to be some sort of conferee. That's my understanding of how that works. I don't think that would happen. I think the best way to kind of have the Senate committee to be the most informed is to have a hold of that financial model and to understand how those levers work. And so for me, when I was looking at this bill, I was kind of wondering how all those things worked out. That was the first part. Is if that financial model, that spreadsheet, can be a bit made public and especially given to the committee, then they can understand this.
Oh, was it off? Sorry, exactly what is your question?
My question is to make that spreadsheet available for the committee and for all the public so we can understand the levers. That since it's revenue neutral, if you reduce something one here, you're going to have to raise something else over here, right? And so that was kind of my first question was on that. The second question, my questions are directed to them because they're the ones who proposed the bill to you guys. The second question is, what is the rationale between the business profit tax being at 12%? And then
the business profits tax at 12% the reason why it was chosen at 12% is because it equates with the top marginal rate, the top rate on the wages and salaries tax. So the concept is there that businesses should at least pay as much as the highest income earner pays on his income or her income. So that's why there's equivalence there.
For that, so for me, I'm a taxpayer and I'm an employee, and I pay 12%, average 11% on my wages, but my wages are 12% on the gross. And this business tax is 12% on the net. The gross and the net are completely different. And so we cannot say 12% of an employee's gross is equivalent to 12% of the business profit tax. In Mr. Kevin O'Keefe's presentation, he was talking about if you credit the businesses in Palau for interim goods, they pay like 0.5% on the GDP, right? On the gross domestic product now, and then in the new system they'll be paying about 1%. So it's like a raise.
I'm sorry, I didn't follow you.
Oh, sorry. On Kevin O'Keefe's presentation, the very last slide, he was talking about like if you credit companies who are paying GRT now for the interim goods, so it's similar to like a gross profits tax. The business community is only contributing 0.5% of the GDP in taxes. And so with this new system, they'll be contributing 1% to coffers. And in that last slide, they say that like around the world, businesses usually contribute around 3% of the GDP to the taxes. And what he said is that with this new change, businesses will begin to pay into the business coffers. And so my question is, why is it at 12%? And like, why don't we make it 3% of the business GDP?
I mean, that's a political decision as to how you want to set your rates, right?
Okay.
I mean, the 12% has been what's been discussed about. If you want to charge more and offset somewhere else, it's a matter of what the senators were talking about in terms of balance in the system and equity within the system. So it's really a matter of choice as to how you pick the different components and elements of the system as to how you bring it about. So if you feel that, if you feel that that businesses should pay more and the wage earners should pay less, well, fine. But that's not your decision in a sense. That's for the political leaders to decide.
Exactly. And so my question was, what is the rationale for having the business profit tax at 12%? And that was my initial question on that.
Can I answer that question? Sure. Okay, so a person takes their salaries, that's their income, that's their take home, and they pay 12% of it as a tax to the government. So if a business, at the end of the day, the net income is what they get from running their business for an entire year, that's equivalent to money they put in their pocket. So the main purpose of this tax is to make the tax equitable, fair to everyone. We're paying the same tax. So if you're a business owner and the money that's your net income, it's going to your pocket, you're going to pay the same rate as the person who's earning wages and taking home his wages. So we're trying to make the system fair. Right now, all the businesses are not paying any taxes on their net income. Yes, it goes to their pockets, and we have many foreign investors here who do not pay any net income taxes. In the United States, it's 21%. In other countries, it could be 30%, it could be 35%. And sometimes it's graduated. But the business is collecting PTSD for the government, and then their net income is treated like their take-home pay, just like every wage earners. And that's where we think everybody are being treated equal. And that's the main purpose of this tax, is to rebalance and make sure we're all paying the same tax.
Let me add to that. You open your statement by saying that you're paying about 11% on your salary and wages. 6% is the first 8, and then 12% on any amount behind that. That's how much we also we pay. Make 50,000, we pay like 11.4%. But all the businesses in Palau, except the banks, always don't pay any salary in wages or their profit, because the gross receipt that they pay is basically taking it from the customer and then paying it back 3 months later. So no business in Palau except financial institution actually pay taxes on their income. Banks by law now pay 4% of the net. So Bank of Hawaii, Bank of Guam, Bank Pacific, those two other banks. But you and I pay our share. But most of the companies in Palau don't pay their share. And I guess that's one of the reasons why we think it's about time that they pay their share. Just like you and I paying salary and wages taxes every 2 weeks out of our salary. So why not get something from businesses? And again, not all businesses. This will apply to all those who are PGST registers, anybody whose income a year is 300,000 or more. So I think it's just fair. I mean, since 1981, most of the businesses have not paid, and when I say they have not paid taxes, they have not paid taxes on their own income. They have paid 4% gross receipt because they collect it from their customers. They have paid 3% import tax because they paid it and collected it on whatever margin they make, markup they make on their products. Thank you.
Okay, let me just say one more. The reason why they're comparing how much tax we collect as a percentage of our GDP is they're trying to tell us how much of our GDP is being given to the government to run the government. In most of the economies, 3% of their GDP is what goes into the government to run their government. And we are half of 1% collection in tax goes to run our government. And the reason why we can run our government is because we have a lot of foreign grants and foreign assistance going to run our government. So what they're telling us is if we take the 0.5% to 1%, it's still a very low tax rate in the economy compared to the other countries. So it's to make us understand that the government needs to be run with money. And if we continue not getting enough money to run our government is not going to be strong enough to provide the services we need. Instead of us asking for handouts, at least we're going to have some kind of stability in our revenue generated. So that just a comparison and making us understand that this change in the tax regime is not really a lot of increase in the taxes. So thank you.
Thank you. Kind of my next comment is on the locally produced goods. If the locally produced goods, if it leaves the PGST chain and it re-enters the PGST chain again, then that 10% which leaves and it's included as the gross revenue going in to the next one, and they'll be paying 10%, or the consumers will be paying 10%. So it'll go from 10% to 20%. So let's say on the retailer too, it's someone who's a market under 50,000, and so when a PGST registered person sells them, they include that as one price, and since that market person doesn't separate those, and they put it back into the store who's a PGST, that's when the store sells it, it's taxable. And so that 10%, which is already in that product, will take another 10%, and it'll be a cascading effect. And so that's why I would recommend that if you to put zero-rated products put the locally produced goods as zero-rated products.
Okay, what he's saying is, like the expert export, whatever is exported is zero rated product. That means it's not, the tax is not going to be applied to it. What he's saying is to make the local products zero rated as well. So like if he brings bananas to, let's say, shopping center or a store that's PGST registered, when they sell it, they have to collect 10% of it. If we make it zero rated, then they will not be collected 10%. That's what he's asking about.
Okay, I mean, this is a consumption tax, and it's charged on all consumption items. I mean, as I'm saying, it's a consumption tax, and all items are all consumed items are charged at that rate. And the concept is it's a non-distortionary system that everybody pays the same rate, whether it's the Sarangul store, West, or a small producer. The final consumption price is 10%. So if you're a producer in agriculture, you pay 10%. That's the nature of the tax. I think from a tax administration perspective, they don't like to introduce distortions between one rate and another, because that then encourages people to bypass the system and effectively evade the tax. So everybody pays, I mean, with the PGST, you have everybody paying the same rate, and you try to keep the rate as low as possible. By having everything taxed, you keep the rate low to yield the same amount of revenues. And I think, as the Senator was saying, as far as exports are concerned, I mean, one of the features of the PGST is that exports don't get taxed. So then that's an incentive to tax. I don't know whether that answers it.
Oh, also, that feature is designed to stimulate the small business activities. And that's why if you are on 50,000, if you're selling local products at a 50,000 store, it's going to be zero tax. If you're selling it to the medium-sized store, it's going to be 4%. But if you're selling it at a PGST registered store, it's going to be 10%. So we're trying to even the playing field by having more small businesses be able to sell our local products more at a lesser price and lesser tax.
Question, because this proposed that anybody who's not PST registered, less than 50,000, will only pay $25 per quarter per year for taxes and no tax at all, right? Now, I think you sort of raised a good question if I read it right. So if you're in that level, you're a small retail store in Peleliu or somewhere, and you make less than 50. Whatever you received or you bought from Koror and bring to Peleliu to sell, you already have 10% in there, right? Okay. Now you're going to sell it, and you are going to pay gross receipt. You're going to put some percent in there, 4%, right? Yes. So naturally, you already pay 10 plus 4. What's the benefit of that small store? That's where I think he's trying to get at.
So no, can I answer his
so the
question?
Price is you see what I'm saying, if I'm reading you right? Some small store in Peleliu, it's still not registered PST. We go to the new system, and he makes less than 50,000. He comes to Surang and buy a rice, 25-pound rice, which is $14, I guess. There's $10 there. I mean, there's 10% there. He brings it to Peleliu. And then he has to sell it, right? Then he has to put his 4% on top of that, right? Because he still has to pay 4%. Now, my question to our chair lady is, the price is going to go up 10 plus 4%, right?
That's right. And that's why you have an option to register as a PGST, because they give you that chance, because it depends on what kind of business you have. If you have like a retail store, then it's more advantageous for you to register as a PGST. You can deduct all the purchases you've made, the power you paid, everything. You deduct those, so you're paying less tax. But if you are an attorney or an accountant, you're providing services, then you can choose to remain GRT business because you're only paying 4%. So the way it's proposed, it gives you a chance to choose whichever one is more advantageous for your business, depending on what kind of business are you conducting.
Thank you. So the PGST is a consumption tax. The consumers are the ones who pay it. So let's say, the PGST, when we're talking about this consumption tax, we shouldn't be talking about the businesses because they have $0 impact on there. My concern is with the consumer. So put it this way, you say Bharat Store, they're over 50,000 and let's say they're PGST registered. They go buy a product from Surango, take it to their store and they sell it. And so they sell it to someone who's not a PGST registered, small income business. They already paid that 10% and it's included in there. They make a product and then they put it back on that Barrett store counter. And so when Barrett sells that product, they have to charge 10% because it's a taxable supply. That brings 10% in. So that means that there's 20% for that customer.
No, it's not like that at all. They will deduct the 10% that's already paid. That's why it's net PGST. So for an example, they buy a bag of rice here, it's $10. There's already $1 PGST collected already. If they take it to Peliliu and they sell it for $15, the tax is going to be $1.50, but they will deduct the $1 already collected here. So they will be paying only 50 cents. It's net PGST. It's not going to double to 20%. It's going to be value-added tax. So the $5 is going to be taxed at 10%.
Why say? So then you sell it to someone who does a market and they're under 50,000. And so when Bharat sells it to them, they have to include that into their price. And so when they pay for it, they pay for it with that price included. They make the good, and then when they put it back on that shelf, they're selling it to Bharat for a certain price, which includes that 10% already. And then when Bharat sells it, it's a taxable supply, and it carries 10%. So it adds another 10% already. Because it exits the PGST chain and it comes back in. So that's why my suggestion was to make any locally produced products zero rated, so that when it comes out and it goes back into a PGST company, then the end consumer doesn't have to pay an extra 10% on that.
Yeah, I think I can follow the chain of reasoning you're talking about, meaning that if he takes this out and go and make, if he buys it from Barrett store and then he goes and make Magit, it's not taxable. That person doesn't pay tax. It comes back to Barrett store. Barrett store has to sell it, and you're saying Barrett has to pay 10% if it's a PGST registered store.
Yes,
you're saying it goes out and come back.
Because the price for the market person, they're putting on it includes all that stuff, right? They're passing that on. They're passing it on. They're not going to take that hit of 10%. So they're going to pass it on, and then since they don't pay the 4%, it's somewhere around 10% plus the $25 a year. They put it on that Bharat store, and then since the Bharat is a PGST, they have to tax 10% on any taxable supply that goes out. So the end consumer is the one who carries that because it's a consumption tax. And so if it's not zero rated, it's going to be cascading because it exits.
10% tax is at the port. The 10% tax is at the port or the airport. So once it's collected there, it's not going to be collected anywhere after that. Once Surango pay that 10%, 10% stops right there.
I think I want to use a different example because I think the zero rated is, I think It's a tricky one. Let's say Gelato comes and buy banana from me and it turns into an ice cream and you're saying that this is a local product, so it's going to be zero rated. Are you telling me they're not going to be paying any taxes because it's... yeah? So at one point do you turn it into a tax? If it's just a banana, maybe I can understand that. But if you're taking that and you're turning it into another product and you're selling it at Gelato and it's an expensive ice cream, I shouldn't call it an ice cream. Are you telling me that they're not going to pay the tax for that $5 cup of? So I can see that you're trying to promote the local product as it is, but once you turn it into another product, then you ought to start as a business trying to sell that. Yeah. Well, tough. I mean, it's going back to Barrett store. They're going to be selling that spam musubi. So you're going to have to assess the value added for that product that goes on to Barrett store. I think it's not 10%. Yes.
10% stops as soon as a product is imported. Right now, if it's food, there's no import tax. There's no 3%. If it's food or medicine, there's no tax. Once this becomes law, and let's say it's 10%, it's not 10% yet. It's not a law yet, right? Let's say it's 10%. Once an item landed at the port, whoever picks it up going to have to pay 10%, Surang or West or whoever. 10% stops right there. No more 10% there, no more 10% there. Whatever taxes collected will be whatever 10% of the amount value added. It's not 10% of the cost of the rice that 20 pounds when it arrived in Malacao.
Yes, I think we can discuss that. That's a very technical issue and very hard to implement if considered. So maybe we need to talk about it more. But the purpose of the bill is to make local products almost tax-free. That means if you sell it at your own market at Pelilio, it would be tax-free. But getting into it it's going to be hard to tell how much of it is banana and how much of it is milk. I mean, it just gets too complicated.
Yeah, maybe I can make a comment here is that the idea, I've got the Director of Tax behind me, and the idea is to try to keep these things simple. I mean, one of the principles in taxation is simplicity in collection and administration. And he's going to have to, I mean, if you had the system you were proposing, you'd have to have a whole load of small businesses, really small businesses, not just small businesses. I mean, if you take the percentage of businesses that will be coming to the PGST net at the present time, it's around 90%. If you bring it down to 50, you've got 98 or 99%. So you're talking a very small percentage of little micro businesses, which he then they have to file to him individually to claim back if you zero rate them, for example, it will be a nightmare. So I think that's the reason, is to try to keep the thing simple. In general, for most businesses, one of the things that us economists like is that a PGST or a value-added tax is neutral. There are no incentives for one business rather than another to go, as an investor, you're not going to go, the system allows one business, there's no differential between which you're going to choose. Each of them the resource allocation is not biased by the system. Sorry, I'm not expressing this very well. But there's no incentive to go into retail as against going into a hotel. They're both taxed the same. And that's why a value-added tax is liked by economists. Sorry, I may be not explaining that.
Okay, thanks.
Ali. Chairman, Malung Israel. Tial public hearing kita dimne gerel de gadebe mala mo kamangat Senator Isaalma albael sele sege tu kwasenguk mermal mem sala roller plastic maral. Why say kami ang win Manila sa talbon nga meeting mga kadawin maral. Di mo masyado sa import tax. O kung ba musya plastic yung membro ringi, pamagay ka rin aral. Masay sila meng di petparo sa gimalo ko rin. Ding neptol kung maduduray sa alma, aldabe, wasitya sila meng dirakabol product. Di yung isa mo subi sa losa ringi senator inabol was iga nga di mo atit telerawa at Tupperware mga naklil. Di ka at Tupperware meng already ready to sale. I say, agama maharaw sel import tax, direct kalharaw sel 10 cents ligaraw recycling. Makluludo di rakabol product gimnastar telharaw rin. Di kuling tiro milo sebo mun mo consider como direct let kialo sa class tax. En lapel nga kal adal murur tiaran direct maklo sena. Sel bukulo ko rin yung abo product. Sebenarnya mau gaya kali Michael Cook mau damage setiap kali dia kan sebenarnya reversible damage na. I mean ang selbo do mesa kumbali ng arbelaw yang ngaringay gel Cook chlorula production or other belaw loru lay gay gilwaran ya kama ma direct di mo shois regal wa haraw tax mga klile direct klua damage ng mga media haraw wadengi maral mga klua los mga aktingong matiro kami amom da sa segide direct el musu mama locally own business kung masulang.
Masulang malungila comment trakaw. Kung sa kanya special provisional girela manufacturing sel import taklalol me bo manufacturing gilmutal mo mesangal make checking ilwaseng malwang nga bol apply mora borrowed water and make sure nga niya advantage ra a local business. Hindi mal understand the concern ka.
Si direct netal kung madudura senator isal girel ni senator Aldabel elwase bay mem Tosi krolel waseng magaray general merangot blur merablu belaw taxen 100%. Bobi ire igal business el lomur blur belaw waseng magarang sa del guk export tial del merablu belaw el merangot el blue len kadire kilometer la se mama dire el testa igel el realmen mesois blur belaw. A kolektir aral merablu bela al mut lungi la kolektir ngira aral merablu wasina mager. Oi.
Well, I say.
Na ala beliak maju sa kadam kitu dia kan soal magdadu le kadam ya sa ala belio adi terira di ngod mong.
Kamar masulang ay mal understand dari kamasulang for bringing that up magi mo understand dari magi malmo tsaka language sa idel manufacturing alwase wayal dekal poltak sa ayel klal mo partra manufacturing mang magi mo tsaka ring alwase mal marangal apply mo ra ko kamra leranan me tsaka ring okay hindi kamasulang for bringing that up malkultural. Kabung Miss Olga Rila.
Akti nga suli chair lady kami senator sabiul el holder tial public hearing eling akor orang sangkal kya karel ate maral mo maral waseng maral gira tel makalorol lol si sa akla tial to tax eling hindi kal nga ikay tel terms el balos pe el wase zero out mangrang nga kawaya senator sa valwase ay kay gira lol si sa akla Rarmi kaya karel adel mo understand el mo matangel wase asyo pa ya kirel el clear, clean, transparent. Le quality of life raro kuil palu au ulmong sabel mongil mani Jesus did say you give to Caesar what's Caesar's and give to God what's God's. Ang kira del makalo reor. Le government taikal service lom strirar ata dire kal mal maklot to talel mandi kal suat al boring ay gigit black market or al register al other market yang ma
Ar maasal ang tira nga kadi kang plan lelokong nga ringi tira ka lemaduol nga tora kaldi ang laklaser siru or atu ang mal moltara raigel ngigel stoa ngal dia ka dotengal kmui kang lechirimet mal ubendiak. Mangmal girel belaw lita kaloror gid makavelmenter elang lot peit yal tax el moruli ay kay gid ang migakarel siobay mang mo clear honest registered. Leradala director silas emani adi 20 and they have to try and chase over 2,200 businesses. Esel sukum tiala apa sang most of ela business el dingil police itself. Lagi tar other belaw adim law isel kotel swadel honest swadel el kay nga seul mo ngil. Ndia katawaya ngaringa pepi rabulul ko rapato kay kikidel ko ra. A smiler madami marora tirabay. Mang akmal understand makadamral malamol malkay nga seul el teya challenge sa kamamel lol nga seurar magyakarel atin mo understand the rase being an entrepreneur means you do the right thing and taxes are being proposed for the right reason litir ka nga alira lol nga seur kitan palubelaw atange so I hope ang help mo kamoplool nga kal hearing el direct.
So lang Irene. Mani, mandi kanya questioner ka. Okay, so lang Mani. I know you're a little bit technical, ama.
Yeah, sometimes I'm a little bit como guy, and it gets in my way of communicating what I need to say. So, like sort of one thing I was looking at was the land transfer tax. This is completely new. It's not in the law now, and they're putting it in there. And so it's raising. You have to pay 4% on any lease or land transfer for any reason, and so that includes private. Like when I see this part of the law, like what I think is that this should only apply for leases and contracts or sales that happen after the effective date. Because this would impact for me, I work for PPUC and I work for projects. And when we deal with other companies, private partners, and we've already kind of talked about this stuff, this law will be a change in law that they can ask for more money if it's retroactive. And so my only suggestion there is to make it effective from that date onward. The last thing that I'd like to talk about is the carbon tax. I would suggest that we leave it at 5 cents, and here's the reasoning why. It'll add another 4% because 10 cents of what we pay at PPUC, which is $2.30, that adds another 4% on top of the 10% that they'll be paying, the customer will be paying. PPUC, we don't pay that because it's a consumer tax that we pass it along. The last part is that like for Palau, their contribution to carbon is around 59 kilotons equivalent, and that was in 2015. The world one is 88 gigatons. So if Palau was to stop using fuel 100%, our contribution to the world is 1 in 10 to the 6. That's 1 in a million. 1 part per million, that's what we would get if we completely stopped using fuel. So the contribution to that is very minimal. But the other point that I like to point out is the IPP that we're working on, which is solar, it's already cost competitive with diesel. That's why we took it. And so the incentive is we don't have to be incentivized to kind of stop fuel. We can leave the fuel as it is. And those are my only 2 comments that I have left. Thank you.
Thank you, Manny. Those are very important things to consider. The carbon tax has been 5 cents for a long time, ever since we first became a government. So we have not touched it at all. But in Guam, it's like 14 cents. And then they have other transfer tax and other things that applies to it. And like GPA, they use the same fuel. Plus, if PPUC buys fuel, you get credit for what Shell has paid or Mobil has paid in tax fuel. So you're not they're gonna pass it to you, but you will also not be paying taxes on it because they already paid the taxes on it. But we understand your concern, and concern on fuel tax is very, it's a big issue. It's a big issue with everywhere we go there. That's what in the land transfer tax, we are looking at that, the constitutionality of it and how does it apply. So thank you for raising it. I think that's all that you mentioned. Thank you so much for coming today, and thank you so much for submitting your comments. I've submitted the comments to our attorney. She's looking at it, and everything you mentioned today, we also consider those. So thank you for coming to the public hearing today. Anthony, you have any comment? I've been getting emails from you, so I know you've been reading this bill, and we thank you for taking the time to look at it.
Nakamal lungil sebem sulang chairperson daka bare kariga amle kariga ablal kabor amani git makal urior mang manigel kuk kari lukuk tinak padas wen kaya kuk sen mong ertel tokoy makultu ringi ma ultura CF or kamam akum lagi sendira ka official ababingil PPUC wa Koror state mul usaba bilingil but elal dultu lersel subela mani ma CF or kamam ang morning ya wal official alquradi comments kamam algirel tala almo egong Aktimu to dogi wagel tingela Senator Cecily lokanek musing tidal to koralis magel dilo mani sing nganya ku contract talgi mongot mokla elmlam got mokla a transfer a utma mal sum mo asum tiang amonya language ringil retroactive the current writing are retroactive if I'm reading it correctly nding asum mo change ya tio to tigi a the swegel to gamanit musemel melakabol retroactive lang guk mo change sel value bla doctor ka clear a contract sel kamentra tele carbon tax direk dimne gim bigi clearing yak mo sebol malmo klol additional expense ma PPUC ding gida chairperson ng last modi sing dakal double tax ng segidel gel fuel supplier already mo kabering mundial and I think say will apply deductible as PPUC sel bol PGST ngaygal tingela tafo no kura private gararal ma di dodumdenge se PPUC ya ultraral ma sa service mo agel ko klad kalil wa bomb replace ma generator may games el direk kura partra a deductible tel replace agel equipment lo router tel kombali mal kura deductible sel PPUC bol hara tax. And then I think adi concern al diraka kalbornia umsupat ng amo part alda adamam sel kim officially submit since tial PGST apply el mora rogul each sale why say mang wa PUC operate el bekel kilowatt hour ma bekel kalong raral sige del tax ng agidi ka mamsubit musing mangwal bol wa elal chun first del diga plel ngas arala dengi mang Lasum apply tiang in guk how much higher will that ichal okyak ng amot tel hararingi so beregi mo mesa say I assume it musing already manya umsubel kumla touchra cost of living ra ichal so I'm sure that's already reflected but just our point gidi mo usi submit gidi kom sulang
Kamal masawla in fact akmla draft letter le kora PPUC aska official comment sel dome seringi sel both net PGST ang mga ya tax ralu amang dakamlut mo pea tax ralu at the same time yung PPUC dakal recoup pa cost terni din daka net profit terni a net profit tax girel daka impact terni at the same time PPUC ay gerokul fixed assets exempt from tax the PGST ngi so sel dome ngi ang waya PPUC ti kalgirel ngania impact ngi tal tax oda dirulil mo PGST registered mo mo sab illegal pekal shobay deduct gel biller tira dengi maral but you raise a very good concern na malusya ba per lekong and then most of it official statement kami mga ngigil kimo understand ay gil concern kami mang mosap edal maral chikal waseng mal nga impact ngin mo arating gimaral malay it's a big concern. Surang Anthony. Halidil po nga Lisa
Maldilas, Chairperson, sel kami talaga manufacturing, value-added tax sa manufacturing. May consider malakal din across the board. May considering either in total income or in number of employees. Ma'am, gagaril manufacturing ang lakal po fall under OCC application na rakuk maklo wa tiga produce aral ma I'm pretty sure the employer tokal ate import raklo versus ragi gray so also kung modify na same consider sel mo am gegarel business other o mga house or tiga le o malas o bol consider gegarel ngani incentive morti sulang
malungin la suggestion.
Anthony, you mentioned about TPUC's outstanding list or whatever. Are you making a reference to the solar power list? Is that the only one list that you're concerned about? Okay. And has PPUC started paying on that list?
Hindi Senator, sewal expense ra takal IPP o kung motokoy taluriyo ring expense ra IPP ding sel tarif amlam katmok with that least expense in mind. Okay. So tel contractor gida nganya provision ringil change in low ceiling.
When does the lease payment kick off?
Dragi sa site lease agreement takasakal NC.
All right, sulang.
Sulang alam mo dia ka-comment move 4 hours sa public hearing ako ngite do nga simre tirahita Koror State. Halebal mer. Tigita Koror State local mutol ngita bebira public hearing magilan mall mutal schedule public hearing tiya ko ramle lo masada bebira ko ra understand lang anti sa next public hearing ko mal welcome mal kuk mutal me other issues if there is ale sanga ti ala Senator Isal and then floor leader Senate mo mga simra hearing al swell
Mr. Silas, I went through this last night and something caught my eye toward the end. Umecycle proposed license require fees. And wholesale ang $300. Person engaging in profession is $300. Importer at $200. Those are annual fees. Massage parlor at $500. Why would that be so expensive? And no, seriously. And other is $50. Akum da sa mal ngaryo. Igagi dia ular wa Bangladesh as really till import taklalo. Mo mga sansang argid. Ako ra dio spera review kami these fees are trust territory fees. This is
Balungile Senator Makupulger Mogas.
Maring la figure out trabalho ede ring. Madame pagkumtera kamama tel kamitira Senate chairman ng vice material vehicle senators ukma sabi ilmer tial public hearing laban ada Koror State eklu trawre nga sulil rogul na sabi ilmem kada huk kaswese kada meser tial luldasul mola al nga lole la Senate al time Kurang sa alda do mal beto ka ungil gamen tel tilob do mal mga suliw mani ka malisa ma antrim tigel bebir mil direct mle mega gamen yung gamen tra benor ma Koror state direct mal luto pangal igigida bebir ulen ngania gimsa balura igigida public hearing agime kada o tiaw dasol mola emerong nga kada ing seo lo mes ringi le bebira time ngani gel gimwesel gukmoda gimwesel kamya sabi il mes gigid o modar sel merkamam gimso amel el take into consideration emerong nga kada dos itial bil singe tax el mal mo masisi e bogota ke mraram de bogrurt legida Michael Dilung kale senator is earlier kada mesetial egana mirigid el kadangar sel wada ngara bla hitra baram mela kaduk ka prepare gid for recovery egana mirigid aul mangi sel provision ng artiak mas kadam sa 2 years el wal grace period el transition el mortiay del besel time tagit el besel system leng seguida el periodo sa el direct al meskida te al maigel guk no de west that we need to change ay was edel al address raw era take effect at yarogila mang hopefully seguid el qorakol gidik na seda bolsa edel gut makliti ala masub the passing il molla el basa seguid el grace period el 2 years edo wat mokar gid el more seguid el time so by then hopefully la mutul start el recovery kana mirgid mang aigel Google start esa siobay maigel ngani siobay luto launch sa business activity able sa bir el make sure na sa aigel right el amount tra tax malubeng necessary tax el giril pelmera umsang lagi gida musab edel capture on a timely basis mang aigel mutul man mga sulu seguida con la request a Cabenor, Mar York na sebe druto moniate al public hearing magi mo schedule al mutuwa na public hearing el mutul mo announce ngil mo ka bekla ada malsum ngani el gukno de kasip iloto del succession ng mure al time seguida another opportunity diri ka malmo ngani el bebira state material guk other oriol direct al other igel bebira state el direct al bora gibonia se direct al chone kamam rege gide continue tagil al lomsube del besel tax reform mada di borsa igide asmriti al public hearing ekluto man mga sulang